Good morning, party people. I'm like, oh, I got to figure out why my camera, one of those cameras is supposed to be showing up above the desk, but it looks like the thing is frozen. I use an iPhone that I got off of Woot for a second camera. Well, it's like the fourth camera now at this point. I have four cameras going in all kinds of different places. So good morning, party people. Good to see y'all again. David, Martin, a few folks inside here. Dave from New Zealand. I assume the NZ means New Zealand. Wonder if Brent is aware of the no pants view he's showing in the private event. Yep. Oh yeah. That's I have two different cameras going on. One that shoots towards the desk and one that shoots towards the window. So good morning, folks. I'm on vacation now, starting today. Woohoo! I am so happy. I was supposed to have jury duty this week. Good morning, Saurabh. It's supposed to have jury duty starting Monday, and I was really wondering how that was going to go, of course, with all the virus stuff and all that. So it turned out San Diego kept pushing back the dates when they were going to start jury trials again, and so they pushed it back far enough that I don't have to do my service is taken care of for the year, so that's good. Good morning, Andy. So David said earlier than usual. Yeah, usually. So I'm up around 2 to 3 somewhere inside there, but I don't usually start broadcasting right away because I usually have work stuff that I have to go take care of. I say work stuff. I mean, it's things like answering emails, making sure that I don't have training customers who have questions, clients who have questions, stuff like that. Go answer those, and then I end up popping into here on Saturday mornings. Usually I'm in around Saturday mornings like 4 or 5 a.m. Pacific. It is now 3:09 a.m. Pacific, so we're a little on the early side here. But yeah, welcome to my life. I was in bed last night around 8:30, somewhere in there. But now I'm off on vacation, so I have basically 2 weeks off. Hi, Serendi. Good to see you. So 2 weeks off, yeah, which is just utterly wonderful. And I'm not taking client work. I'm not going to add, probably won't do any streams this week because this coming week, so Erica and I today are driving up the California coast and then going to stay in a beachfront hotel out in California. So early dev, yeah, the time is fairly early here. Fraud, almost lunchtime here in the UK, nice. Emmanuel, small time zone difference. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's going to be nice. Although, I mean, I'll miss y'all in the sense of the streaming. I'm bringing my laptop with me, but I won't be bringing any of my streaming audio or video gear. I'll just bring my laptop, and there's probably not likely a chance that I would do streaming just because I'll be at a beachfront hotel in California, and God only knows how the internet will be. But I'll be back next, I want to say it's Friday. It's either Friday or Saturday. And because we're not doing the July 4th weekend, a lot of y'all here are international just because of the time when I'm broadcasting. The July 4th weekend is a really big deal here in America. It's when we celebrate our independence. Surly Dev. Yeah, it's funny. That's funny. Yeah. So I'm definitely weird. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, so it'll be fun. So next week I'll be streaming out the wazoo. I'll be streaming during weekdays. So next week I'll probably be streaming 7-8 times during the week too as well. There's this deal. In order to become a Twitch partner, you need to stream like 3 times a week, and really you need to stream at the same times every time. You need to have a set schedule where people can kind of set reminders, like Surly Dev's talking about, set reminders so that they can come in at a certain date time. And I never wanted to do that. Mark, cool. I never wanted to do that because I can't make a living streaming. It's not like I'm one of those people who does video games and constantly pushes out streams, and I'm going to sit in front of my computer all day. I usually do client work and training classes. So I look at Twitch as just something that I can do just for fun because, I'm going to work regardless. I'm going to be sitting here working on the computer. I might as well share it with y'all because in that way you get to see what I do and like learn from it. And we can have questions and answers and that kind of thing. But it'll be... No, Surly Dev, it's interesting. You don't have to keep the schedule after you get partnered. Right now, you can't get ejected from the Twitch partner program once you're in. So people are like, hey, you just need to set a schedule 3 times a week and do it for a month straight and then apply for the partner program. And I'm like, I have a huge number of followers for the science and technology type streaming. There aren't a lot of SQL Server coders doing live coding, obviously, but they're still like, no, no thanks. And the only thing that partner gets me at this point would be different ad revenue. I'm not getting rich off of Twitch ad revenue. At some point, I'll do a blog post laying out all the revenue that I get from Twitch, and it's like I want to say $200 a month ballpark, which is nothing to sneeze at. I can see how people would want to stream full time because if you don't have like a day job, quote unquote, you could do okay at this. Especially the live coders, the people who do development full time. I could see them making a full time living doing development. You could make it. Exactly. The way I look at it is it's kind of like a free car payment, because I still think of like when I was, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years old, that a car payment was like $400 a month for a nice car. So I kind of look at it as, well, it's a chunk of a car payment. So that's kind of cool. All right, so today what I'm going to do, I've managed to completely ignore my espresso here for like 5 minutes straight. And also I had normally... Freud says, does it cover your coffee? That's a good question, and the answer is no. There's a Starbucks downstairs and like 2 streets over from me. And I used to, good morning, John. I used to go there every morning and do like a venti Americano and an oatmeal. And that alone was like $500 a month, I think. In between just the oatmeal, the latte, or the Americano and the tip. And of course, since the virus, I'm like, nope, I'm done. I've done that for years. Every morning, I always go to the same coffee shop wherever I live and just get exactly the same thing. I know all the staff by name, and no, that's done. I'm not doing that anymore. I was for a while there. For those of you who are watching the stream regularly, there's a coffee shop downstairs here. Well, their staff completely rolled over recently because restaurants are starting to open again here in San Diego. And so the people who are working at coffee shops are going on and working at restaurants instead because the money's better, because the tips are higher, because you're talking about more revenue per check. So they all left. All the people that I knew at this coffee shop all bailed, and the new people, I just don't know them. So I'm like, I'll skip it and just stay home instead. One thing, I want to say it was Surly Dev who was talking about how my desk is always too clean. And I brought one thing out of the closet. I have an office closet that's got all kinds of stuff in it. But this is one of my goals for the vacation. Is a friend of mine gave me like half a dozen yo-yos over the years. Jeff Atwood of Coding Horror gave me like half a dozen yo-yos over the years. And I keep trying to learn to yo-yo. Now, you have probably seen the yo-yos where when you yank them, that they automatically come back up. Well, these not so much. I'm kind of like scared to yo-yo it with my with all the espresso and everything here. But there's no self-return. It's like I forget what the term for it. Not a self-returning yo-yo, but it gets to the end of the string, it just sits there, and you have to learn how to yank it and move it certain ways to make it automatically come back to you. I've wanted to do this for like 2 years, and he says it has a clutch. No, it is just gets to the end and it's nothing. That's it. It's spinning full speed. But so come on, just turn around. That's so cool. I love how it does that. But now I got to figure out how to actually use it. So they're really cool, and I've watched like yo-yo competitions and stuff. I would have loved, the whole reason I first originally got started on it was bearing yo-yo, that might be what they call it. I have no idea, but they're so cool, and now I can't even get the damn string back on, because it has a spinning thing in the middle. I've wanted to do that for the longest time. The reason I wanted to do it was I wanted to be standing on Surly Dev, you make it sound so easy. Yeah, just flick your wrist. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, I've tried that, buddy. But it's exactly. Latching it, exactly. There's something with latching it that I've watched videos and I've stumbled through it a few times. It's been like 6 months now, so I haven't tried it in the last 6 months. But I'm kind of determined to do that on this vacation because we're going to be just sitting by the beach for like a week straight. Trying to avoid as much human contact as possible and just goof off. Shaime says, good morning, Shaime. Yeah, Surly Dev. All right. So, what are we doing today? So today, at first I was going to do a release of the first responder kit. I was going to push everything out right before I went out on vacation, so that we had the monthly hold a small loop in the string. I'm not. So listen, I should totally do. I should do a live stream of me learning to yo-yo because y'all would laugh really hard. Yeah. So I was going to do a release of the first responder kit right before I left and call it the July release. We don't really have exactly release before right on a like Friday afternoon kind of thing. I was going to do that, and then I realized that while I'm gone, Richie, my employee, my developer, is working on the consultant toolkit. So our consultant toolkit is the thing where it'll automatically run scripts from the first responder kit and collect all the data into an Excel spreadsheet. He's getting ready to work on a release for that, and I usually release both that and the first responder kit at exactly the same time. Howdy, Brazil. Release both of those at exactly the same time. So I don't want to drop the first responder kit and then drop a new consultant toolkit like 2 weeks later. Nothing revolutionary coming in the consultant toolkit. It's just stuff like the ability to query an Azure readable secondary, show a timeout message because this thing time bombs out after like 90 days, and also the ability to automatically upload. Several folks are consultants who want to have it, just give it to their clients and have it automatically upload without the clients even understanding like how to type things in. So we'll have that in there as well. Okay, so I'm going to do a first responder kit like issues this morning, and there are a couple of them that are fun to learn around like dynamic SQL problems. So that's going to be the topic of this morning's stream, is we're going to focus on coding a few fixes in the first responder kit, and I'm going to try to teach you stuff about SQL Server and create a couple of bad scripts as we go along. Let's see. So we've got a good morning, good to see you, Botsko. So we've got a couple of instances inside here, a couple of issues inside here that I like quite a bit. I'm going to hit this one first. So SP Blitz Cache Arithmetic Overflow. So since the last release, this person's having problems with an arithmetic overflow in SP Blitz Cache, and it has to do with the number of plans in the cache that are identical. And you might be going like, wait a minute. Surely does says, I'm not going to. John, that's funny. Surely, that is a really good question. I'm probably going to kick you out earlier. Especially today, since I started at like 3:20. There's no way in hell I'm going to be able to live stream for like 4 hours straight without going out and walking around. Especially once dawn hits, I'm going to totally want to get in the car and go drive around. I haven't gotten in the car in like 2 weeks. I have a Porsche 911. I've got fresh tail or fresh side lights for it. I got to go put those side lights in. I'm so excited. Ordered my first custom wheels. Woo! So when I say multiple plans in the cache, what does that mean? Let me demo it and show it to you. So what I'll say is I'll use Stack Overflow and go. I'm going to say drop indexes, go. That's possible. That's possible. Create index, display name on DBO users, display name. Let's go set up an index that will make our queries work. Then I'm going to say dbcc free proc cache, go, select star from DBO users where display name equals Brent Ozar. Go, copy the exact same thing, paste, and I will say Lady Gaga. And then I'm going to do SP Blitz Cache. So what I'm about to do here is I'm going to free the plan cache so that there's nothing else in it. I'm going to run 2 queries that look identical but are not, and then I'm going to go run SP Blitz Cache. The contents of these queries I'm less concerned with. I'm more concerned with what's in my plan cache after I run those 2 queries. If you have any difference in a string whatsoever, SQL Server will compile and cache a separate plan for it. So if you have a problem where the application is building strings and then passing those strings in as unique queries, then you're going to be able to cache less stuff inside the plan cache. You're going to have a flooded number of, she is very, on a very different schedule. At some point I should tell that story, which I think is key to a good marriage. Enough people having their own alone time. We've been telecommuting together for like 2 decades now. And even we work together. She works for me. So that's a kind of a weird way of saying it. She works with me is probably a better way to say it. But yes, we've been in close proximity for like 20 years together, and it's still like we're getting ready to go on vacation. I don't feel like I need to get away for time from her because I get this time with my precious friends like you. I don't know that you're really my friends. You tolerate me. You just like to see me make fun of people in chat. So this is the problem that I'm up against here. So if I have a query that's got a whole bunch of plans in the cache, you see how it says multiple plans. Exactly, yes. In a happy marriage sense, I work for her. You learn very quickly what's important in relationships, and you only pick the things that are important to quibble about, and things that aren't important, who cares? Rest of it, you just let go. And don't put food in the car. That's my pro tips. You should have seen the first time she dropped a French fry in the Porsche. Like her face just went. I was like, no, it's okay. It's all right. It's one. I'll get it out. So multiple plans. So I got 2 plans in the cache, which will drain your, or will not let you. Do you make her wear slippers in the car? No, we both wear shoes. It's funny about the shoes thing. This is funny. This is actually very funny. When we first got in a relationship and we ended up buying a house together, like building a house together, when we first did that, I said, look, here's the deal. I don't have a whole lot of things that I care about in life, but I want to be able to wear shoes inside the house. And she was not happy. She's very clean. You can kind of tell from my desk. I got the yo-yo with the string now at the moment, but you can kind of tell we're pretty clean people. We're very minimal. We don't like things lying around. And when we first started, it was long before we got married, when we first bought the house together, she's like, you need to take your shoes off every time you come in the house. And I'm like, look, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm the kind of person who I've always worn shoes in the house, especially we have like several floors. So we had 3 floors at the time. So the first floor was all hardwood type stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take my shoes off. It's just, let me just traipse stuff through the house and then we'll clean that floor. But then the other ones can be carpet. And that was nearly the end of our marriage right there. And we had disagreements about that. Today, I don't wear shoes in the house. Today I take my shoes off when we get into the house, and I do have house shoes. I do wear actually UGG slippers. Aaron Stellato turned me on to these. These are actually fantastic, super comfortable. I am not the kind of person who would wear Uggs. I'm not the kind of person who would wear those boots with the sheepskin on the inside, but I tell you what, they make some really good slippers. They're actually really nice. Dave says, I'm sorry I triggered this. All right, so now let's come back here. So I got the one query that has effectively 2 plans, and there are cases where this can make sense, because like Brent Ozar and Lady Gaga will have different numbers of rows. But so we warn you about this when you have a lot of single-use plans. So if you see in here, this line here in the warning is what's brand new. Oh, you know what? By the way, let's see how this works. Surly Dev was giving me hell, so to speak, about not using Zoom It. So let's see here. Let's see how this goes. I am using the Mac Zoom It. Let's see if that actually works as well as I want it to. I'm not sure if it actually will or not. We'll see. Yes! Oh, sweet. Okay, good. I'm watching on another monitor, so I wanted to see how that would work. So I have 2 plans in my cache. 2 plans in my cache, 100% are single-use plans. This is the part that is good. I'm glad, Surly Dev, I'm glad you did. This is the part that was new like a month ago, ballpark. You have 2 plans in your cache, 100% are single-use. So this was brand new, and this is the part that's triggering the multiple plans one, or it's triggering the arithmetic overflow. If I go back over to the GitHub issue, This is the part that triggered it, and Randolph is the one who narrowed this down. Randolph West, I'm going to go way down here. So Rabrist here, Randolph caught that it's the arithmetic overflow is related to this particular check. And he says, hey, it looks like it's the bit after checking for single-use plans. There's a decimal cast 32. So this person has more than 1,000 instances of the same plan in cache. So what I want to do is first, whenever you have a bug, I want to trigger the bug. I want to make sure that I can trigger it, and then that way I can verify that I did it. It's thoroughly dumb. I normally, see, I'm still not to the point where I want to draw. Like when you see me zoom in, I'm using the Mac accessibility because I like it that it moves and does live. It'll continue to update live, whereas Zoom, it's really sketchy when it starts to update live. And I want to draw at some point. I've got a Mac or an iOS. I've got an iPad that I use as sidecar, and I'm going to start drawing on there. I haven't quite gotten to that yet. Yeah, see, but that's flaky as hell for me. I've had it crash several times, and I don't. If it's crashing during a stream, then I'm like, and the Mac one does by default, and it's freaking bulletproof. It just does not fail, so which is pretty cool. So I need to trigger this bug. To put more than 1,000 plans into cache. Because if it's a decimal 32, then that's probably what's breaking it. So I need to trigger more than 1,000 plans in cache. Obviously, I am not going to write and copy paste this. So in comes in dynamic SQL. Dun dun dun. So I never have to. Surly Dev, are you saying it works on your machine? So here's where dynamic SQL is going to come in. I want to build dynamic SQL and iterate through and build 1,000 or more plans into the cache. Let's do it the smart kind of tricky way. So let's go build some dynamic SQL. Let's say declare string to execute and varchar 4,000 set. And we're going to say we'll do two. That, and we'll do string template and varchar 4,000. We're going to say set string template equals select star from DBO users where reputation equals, and I'll write, Dave, remember, this isn't a demo though. This is live streaming. That's totally different. So here I've started with my template, and I'm going to say, I also need to declare a number that I can work with. Good afternoon, Santi. Good to see you again. We'll say counter int equals 1. So while counter is less than 1001, begin. Set string to execute equals string template plus cast counter as and varchar 10. So now and for those of you who haven't seen a stream before, I cough, but it's because I have asthma, not because I have COVID-19. I didn't do my inhaler this morning. I'll be doing that during one of the bio breaks. I love that too. I've seen that same kind of thing. I've seen it where everybody had to do, or like Pachachka videos where everything is like 9 minutes or less, and you have to code the whole entire time and explain why you go. It takes a special kind of presenter to do it, and I'm not that smart, but I'm... So now I'm going to say exec sp execute SQL. I don't need to do sp execute SQL. I'm just so used to doing it that way that I'm going to do it. String to execute, and then set counter equals counter plus 1, and end. So what this should do is this should go and run 1,000 selects of this select star from users where reputation equals. Now I'm going to start by doing it for just 10 executions. So, and then execute, and let's see here. I think that's everything. Go. So there are going to be lots of users. Let's only go top 1, and let's go. Yeah, let's just stop there. We'll go there. Execute. Boom. So now that's executed successfully 10 times. Let's go see what SP Blitz cache. Let's go see what SP Blitz Cache says, and we're going to see if we have lots of the same queries in cache. Yes! Sweet! All right, so we got lots of the same queries in cache. SP Blitz Cache is warning us about multiple plans in cache. And it doesn't say anything about duplicate plans. They're only so many percentage. Okay, beautiful. So let's go do it 1,001. Let's go do it 1,000 times. So execute. This is going to take a second because it's going to go through and run the same query 1,000 times. Then after that finishes, I'm going to go over to SP Blitz Cache and then run it and see what we get. I am expecting to see a warning about when SP Blitz Cache runs, if all 1,000 of these plans are still in RAM, then I am expecting to see arithmetic overflow. There we go. Okay, so this thing's going on, doing its thing. We'll go look at SP Blitz Cache. I'm tempted to go look now, but Emmanuel says, will SSMS be able to manage 1001 result sets? Yes, but not well. It has memory problems as it starts to blow out this many. I could set, you know, it's funny, I'm glad you said that. I can turn on discard results after execution. I can go into Tools, Options, and then say under Query Execution, SQL Server, I want to say it's under General, or is it under Results, Query Results. Query Results, SQL Server, Results to Grid, discard results after execution. When I do this, then I just have to flip it back over whenever it's time to go run SP Blitz Cache. So sure, we'll go ahead and do that, say OK. I can't remember if that takes effect immediately. Oh yeah, no it does. Okay, great. All right, so no, damn it, it doesn't. Oh, SP SQL Server Management Studio. So I got to copy all this, dump it into a new tab. Wilson, welcome to the club. Thank you. Yes, that's awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So now that we have that, hopefully... Look how fast that was, too, with discarding results after execution. Dang, as long as we can do that. Let's go do what less than 2001. Let's go execute that. Ooh, why not? All right, we'll go see how that goes. All right, sweet. Look at that, 2004 seconds. Man, that's fantastic. So now let's go run SP Blitz Cache, but to do it, I'm going to have to turn off that discard results after execution. You know, the other thing I should probably do at this time is I should probably spin up another SQL Server Management Studio so that way I can alt-tab between them. One of them will have discard results turned on and the other one won't. So let's So come on, in you go. All right, connect. Let's make sure that we don't have discard results after execution turned on this one. Gawambunga. Gawambunga, yes. They also laugh a lot, so... Query results, SQL Server. So good. So this doesn't have discard results. Let's try over here SP Blitz Cache, and let's see if we get an arithmetic overflow. We did not. We did not. We did not get an arithmetic overflow inside here. So that's kind of funny. I was hoping that we would get an arithmetic overflow, but we did not. All right. So that's kind of interesting. You can see that we are getting the dupes inside here. So, All right, well, if we didn't get the arithmetic overflow, I hate doing it without, or I hate not being able to test the bug. So let's do one other thing. Let's go under Tools, Options, and make sure we have discard results turned on this one. Let's go 10,000, or just to say, I'm going to say 15,000, and go execute, and do I need to do that? Yeah, sure, why not? So we'll do 15,000 and see what happens. And I expect this to take like a minute or two because maybe it's not a issue of 1,000 plans. Maybe it's 10,000 plans in the cache that are dupes. which leads to a question. So have I ever seen this before? Yes. In our training classes, one student reported over 100,000 plans in cache for the same query, just for different combinations of things inside the where clause, because somebody wasn't generating their dynamic SQL correctly, and the query was running thousands of times per second. The highest I think I've seen is like 70 or 80,000 plans for the same query. To give you a rough idea, SQL Server maxes out at around 160,000 plans that it can cache, even when you're on big, huge, beefy servers. Dave says, do they work for the same company as me? And if you want to see more info about that particular issue, that is multiple plans, one query. I run into this issue a lot lately. So I'll put related reading, put that over in Slack or in chat so that y'all can see that. So it's chugging along here. It's been going for a minute. Since it's been going for a minute, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the other one, and let's see if SP Blitz Cache catches it again. Still don't have, so we're up to 7,000 plans in the cache, so we're making good progress. 99% are duplicates with more than 5 entries. So it's still not that yet. We'll see one more time. We'll let this thing finish out. Because every now and then, if I can't reproduce a problem, I'll just go ahead and ship a fix. What do I think of file stream? I think storing files in SQL Server is the world's most expensive place to store files. Just like if it's not, my general rule is if you're not doing joins on it, then it doesn't belong in a relational database server. The clue there is in the name relational database server. If it's not a relational thing, then it probably doesn't belong in SQL Server. That's also why you don't see me on Microsoft stages, is because I usually look for ways to not store things in very expensive servers. I'm like, hey, if I can find a way to store it inexpensively, I would rather do that. Microsoft's like, what, son? Come on now. You need to tell them to go get solid gold boxes for all of their stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. All right, so we're up to 8,000 plans in the cache, and we're still not triggering it. Let's do one other thing. Let's copy paste this into another window, and I'm going to start this counter at 10,000 just so that we've got a multiple one running. And while counter's less than 20,000, go. Let's copy all this, new window, 20,000 to 30,000 range, go. 30,000 to 40,000 range, go. 40 to 50,000 range, go. And then let's switch back over to SP Blitz Cache and let's see how we're going here. I'm going to look at Task Manager. I expect SQL Server to be in a little bit of pain right about now because it's running through queries like crazy. Yep. So now we're nailing SQL Server pretty good and hard. We still only have 8,000 plans in cache. So you know what? Based on the configuration of my server, I may not be able to cache much more than this. So there are limits. The cache bucket size, I don't quite remember how to calculate that offhand. There is a knowledge base article on how you can calculate how many plans a SQL Server can handle. My hardware might be capped at around $9,000, which should be good for Dave. Well, because I don't have enough beefy hardware is what I think it is. So I'm going to go stop each of those. And I'm going to go then, if I can't reproduce the bug, I'm like, well, Emmanuel says setting no count at this point. So the thing is, my SQL Server can't cache, apparently, more than like 9,000 plans. So that has nothing to do with the speed that the queries are running. That's how much plans. Oh, I got 9,400. The fact that those were all running that quickly. I'm going to do it, Emmanuel, just to do it, set no count on. And let's, well, here, I'll copy just that one. I'll get the line return in there, execute, and paste, execute, paste, execute, paste, execute. I see, I don't think, so Randolph already did a huge amount in terms of getting that right. I think if anything, what I would do is I would fire open one of my larger VMs. I would fire open one of my larger, yeah, Walden, that's the point, is that I don't want it to be necessary. Well, okay, so, this is why I have all the peanut gallery folks. So Walden, what you're talking about is going to make the query run easier. That isn't necessarily what I need, but okay, sure. Create index reputation on DBO users reputation. Execute. This is the curse and blessing of doing live streaming, is that you get people who can give you lots of helpful but irrelevant ideas. Execute, 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 and that should do it. All right, so we'll close that guy. And now let's go. So we'll let him run for a minute, and then we'll switch over to SP Blitz Cache. So we were at 9,428. Now let's go see. So for my live training classes, sometimes I have to ask people a question. Hey, we have 35,000 plans in the cache. Yes. So we have 35,000 plans in the cache, and we're still not triggering the bug. So I don't know that that's really what it is. So I don't think that Randolph's diagnosis there is exactly what it is. So let's see. We're going to go get the latest version of SP Blitz Cache just to make sure, and then I'm going to apply that just to make sure that that's not what it is. And so here it is, execute. We got the latest version on there. Let's run SP Blitz Cache. Just on the off chance that I hadn't applied the latest version, usually I'm really good about testing the dev branch on this specific VM. And nope, we still don't have that problem, and we're up to like 30,000 plans here. So let's go look inside the contents of this. And let's see. So Randolph says it looks like it's the bit after checking for single-use plans and many queries. So let's copy that out, and let's go look in SP Blitz Cache and find that part. So here we go. So from system exec query stats, having count distinct greater than 5, insert into plan cache usage. So he thinks it's this part right here. So what that is, percent duplicate. Okay, so I see why he thought that was what it is, but it's not. So convert a percent duplicate, you can't have higher than 100% duplicate. So if the number that we're trying to handle there is the percent duplicate, that doesn't matter. So I need to type that out inside the thing. So I'm going to copy that out and put it in the note just for Randolph there. Not so much. That decimal 32 is where we're calculating percentages. It's tough to be over 999%, obviously. And so we'll paste that in there, and then put that in. During a live stream, I tried putting tens of thousands of duplicate plans in the cache, and we still couldn't. Nope, Dave, no, that's actually correct. I'm saying that we have a decimal 3, which means that you would handle 999%. Not obviously, that's an illogical number, right? So we tried during a live stream, and we still couldn't get it to do the overflow even with 35,000 plans in the cache. So I'm just going to do that comment there. And then now I'm going to come back up and see, all right, what did this guy, where was he getting the error at? So he gets it here in between these two. So he gets it in between checking for single-use plans with many queries and arithmetic and processing SQL handles to ignore. So let's go see what happens before processing SQL handles to ignore. Maybe something else creeps in lower inside here. So there is more stuff inside here. So it's in between those two. So it could be inside here somewhere. Chandler, never, as far as I know. I've never seen that one before. So I don't think it's one of those. Let's scroll across. Position, whoops. Isn't decimal 32 max 9.99? Oh, Santi, you might be right. Oh, Santi. Test decimal 32 set test equals 99.999. Let's try that. Select test. Santi, if you're right. Santi! Santi! Oh! Me coughing. I need a mute button. That's the next thing that I need to do. I need to write that down before I forget it. I'll type it down for myself because I need to totally remember that. Santi, I need you to email me. So let me put down first. Let's see here. So the mute button. So Santi, email me. I want to say thanks to you because that was a genius catch, and I never would have thought about that. Holy moly. Somebody just had a shotgun blast over here in San Diego. Santi, email me and at help@brentozar.com, or just go to brentozar.com at the top and click contact. Email me because I want to give you something for that. That is utterly genius, and I never would have caught that. I am just immediately in the frame of mind when I see 3.2 that it's 99.9, and you are absolutely correct. Nice job, Santi. That is fantastic. I can't say enough good stuff about that. So you now have solved that problem. Let's go back up and catch that. That is brilliant. Oh, I should have, while we're at it here, let's repro what he's talking about. So declare tester decimal 32 set tester equals 99.999. Select at tester. So let's start it with that, and we get an arithmetic overflow. If I turn around and switch to 4, it overflows. 5, it does okay. Sweet. So that's so fantastic. That's just lovely. So we need to go to 3.2 here, 5.2 here. So close. And now I couldn't repro it. That's the only bummer. I wish I could have reproed the bug because we have like 100% of the plans are the same in the cache, but that should fix the issue. So let's say that looks like it. I'm going to do, while we're in here, I'm going to do a control F just for decimal 3.2, just to see if there are other issues inside the plan cache. Decimal 3.2. And sure enough, there are. Look at that. That's fantastic. Let's fix those guys and see what else we got. Okay, great. Fantastic. Oh, that's so good. So let's save that, execute just to put it in, and then let's run it just to make sure that it doesn't explode. And then once that works, we will check it in. Okay, beautiful. Now, I was never able to get the execution, the thing to overflow, but that's okay. So now let's go check in our changes. So let's go back over to in between 1 and 8. Okay, cool. So I'm going to delete that one and say okay. And then I'm going to say, it's what, 2425? Okay, so it's 2425. Exactly. Yeah. Yep, Surly, you're exactly right. And I always forget that when I look at smaller numbers. I'm just so used to going out to like 18 too. So let's see here. Let's come back over to the GitHub desktop. So for those of you who aren't used to GitHub, what I have to do now is I have to create a new branch for my code. I have to describe the changes that I've made and then check it in. Then I have to do a pull request to get this into the main branch of the code. So I'm going to say, and I'm also going to write a big thank you to Santi in here inside the release notes too. So this is issue number 2425. Hi, Nuri Power, 2425. What is T-SQL? I'll let you Google that one rather than me explaining that one live, just because it's a little too complex to go into quickly. So it's 2425 SP Blitz Cache, Arithmetic, Overflow. So there's our new branch, and I'm going to take my code with me. So there we go, switch branch. And then I'm going to do 2425 SP Blitz Cache, Arithmetic, Overflow. Terry, no, I don't actually. Your best bet is going to YouTube for that one and just searching for like T-SQL tutorial. So SP Blitz Cache Arithmetic Overflow fixes overflow. I'm actually not going to say use. I'm just going to say fixes possibly fixes possible arithmetic overflow. Thanks to, now let me make sure I get Shanti's name spelled correctly inside here. Let me scroll back in the chat. Santi whoops, only one N. Santi Swarup Chowdhury in Twitch. Closes number 2425. So copy that out, check that in, publish it, do a pull request, to create a pull request. Not that, it's over here. And then let's see here. So there we go. And then assignment is myself. So it's Dave says, is 5 enough? It's a percentage. We're calculating a percentage there. So if you can get 10,000%, then you're a better at math or worse at math than I am. So SP Blitz Cache and then create pull request. And branch merge the pull request, confirm the merge. And then once that finishes, okay, good. Now let's go back over to our release notes and credit Santi to there as well. So let's say, okay, so we'll say, woohoo, fixed it. So Emmanuel says, notice me, senpai, that number that we're calculating between 0 and 1, it gets multiplied by 100. Okay, so I couldn't reproduce it. And if I can't reproduce it, I don't want to go spelunking, making more speculative changes. If given the techniques that you've seen in the Twitch, if you want to go try to reproduce it, I'll let you go for it by all means. But I'm satisfied with the fix where it's at here, just because I couldn't even reproduce the issue. So if you want to do it, by all means, go for it, but I'm not going to here. So woohoo fixed it. Ooh fixed it. In terms of senpai, fixed it, or well, maybe fixed it. Possibly fixed it during a live stream. Thanks to Santi catching my bad math in Twitch. Note that Emmanuel, your last name begins with a G, doesn't it? I know it does. I've seen it somewhere in Twitch. Thinks we may still need it to expand it to more. Hi, Javis. M, dang it. M. Oh, man, I thought for sure it was G. I don't know where I got the G from. Emmanuel on Twitch says we need to expand it to more decimal places, but I'll let someone else give that a shot because I couldn't reproduce this. So to raise that something, you're totally welcome to try doing unit tests with this. I'll leave that as an exercise for the reader too, because unit testing SQL Server's built-in dynamic management views is extraordinarily hard. You can't replace them, and you can't insert context into them. So we got that comment. Now I need to, whenever I do whenever I do a change in the first responder kit, not only do I have to put it into the code, but in GitHub, but I also need to, I don't, oh, thank you, I appreciate that. But I also need to put it into the release notes in my blog post. So I'm going to go now pop open WordPress. We're going to add it to the release notes for this month's release in WordPress, and then we'll go take a bio break, and then we'll go tackle the next issue. So in here, let's go fire open the WordPress so that I can then go see posts, go see what we have for, I've got a draft post already for the updated first responder kit. Oh, Will, if you go to brentozar.com/books, I'm sorry, brentozar.com/go/books. And I put that over in the chat too so that you can see it. Those are the books that I recommend for database administration and performance tuning as well. So in our release notes, so maybe fix, possible arithmetic overflow when checking for many duplicate plans in the cache. Not entirely sure whether, Ray said something, you like that, thanks. Not entirely sure whether this actually fixes it though, because I couldn't reproduce it. Number 2425, thanks. And now I got to go list the whole group of people who are involved in this one because there are several. So let's say there. So thanks. Who's the original person who reported it? The original person is S. McNaughton. S. McNaughton. S. McNaughton. Rabrit, Randolph West. And I'm going to get Santi's spelling correct in there too. So let's get Santi. Let's get Randolph first because we've got him. Oh, thanks, SQL Dev DBA. I appreciate that. That's like my favorite course that I've ever done by a long shot. And I'll tell you all the history behind it too, because I really enjoyed that. And Santi, let me make sure to get his name spelling correct here. Santi, where did that go? Perl request. Up. I want to be able to catch it. There we go. So, copy. And I'm just going to paste into Notepad just because I'm not entirely sure that GitHub's not going to try to dump some styles into there too as well. There we go. All right. So we've updated that. So now I've got my release notes inside there. Save that draft. All right, so we tackled the first issue. Holy smokes, that was, I don't know how long we've been going now. I didn't notice the stream time. So we tackled our first issue. And so I was going to tell you that before we go on a bio break, I'll go tell you the history behind how to think like the engine. So I went to this class about presenting. What is this guy's name? There's a doctor who's really into visualizations. Now I got to go Google for it because it's going to, Edward Tufte. Edward Tufte. So there's this doctor called Edward Tufte. Oh, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Edward Tufte, who specializes in visualizations. And I'm going to type his name out in the chat just so that for those of you who want to search for it, Dr. Edward Tufte does amazing work around visualizations about how you show things and how you teach people. And this guy said, oh, my throat. This guy said, if you can put something in physical paper like a handout, if you can build a one-page handout that represents what something does or how something works, he said if you can build a one-page handout, that will pay your dinners for the rest of your life. And he gave an example of a firefighter who built a one-page visualization of where fires were happening in the city relative to where the firehouses were. And immediately, like every politician, every other firefighting department wanted to work with him to go see how to build that visualization and how to better lay out their firehouses. And he said, the thing that you put in people's hands has to very closely represent the real world version of whatever it is that you do. And I'm like, oh my God, I teach databases. What am I going to put in a one-page handout that's relevant to what we do. And so, and I'm going to go get it from my office closet, because usually I keep it up on my desk, but I said, well, everything that SQL Server does, it stores in 8K pages. What if I built a piece of paper that mimics what SQL Server has inside its storage on disk? So what I did was I took the Stack Overflow database and I built a one-page version of the clustered index of the users table. And then I built a one-page version of a non-clustered index. And I used this, thoroughly tough. And then I use this in order to teach how the SQL Server engine works. And I'm like, okay, so here's a database page. Now we're going to run through different queries. And I walk through that whole process. And it's absolutely right. That page, that one, like the process of building a page and showing it to people, has bought me dinner for years, that it's so useful for working with clients. And I've given that same how to think like the engine presentation. I bet I've seriously given that 1,000 times. Like I've probably given how to think like the engine 1,000 times, because every client wants it. Every client, even though it's free, it's out there. You can go watch it for free. I don't charge $1 for it. There are multiple versions. There's a written version. There's a Twitch version. There's a YouTube version. All kinds of stuff. And just so, if that's one thing I could convey to people, if you can build a one-page handout of something that explains how something works, that helps people visualize it, then it will buy your dinner for forever. Yeah, Oizoken got it, because I was getting ready to go just pull it open and go see. Dave says, how have you made a tiny little coffee last nearly an hour? It's true. It is completely empty, and I don't drink often enough. And cold espresso, you're exactly right. I'm not a really big fan of cold espresso unless you pour it on top of ice cream, in which case it's amazing. Oh, Barney says, I challenge you to document marriage within one page. You know, it's funny. That would probably make give you dinner for life. Danielle, thank you. Welcome to the club. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, so I've been going for like an hour now. Oh, let's stop and give a quick shout out to this week's sponsor. So this week's sponsor is SQL Grease. SQL Grease is a really cool monitoring tool that you don't have to put a big, deep monitoring repository on site. All you do is install their agent, and it just pulls your SQL Server using extended events, which is super lightweight, then pulls your data up into Azure, and then does all kinds of analysis on it to do things like machine learning and figure out what you need to do differently on your SQL servers. They have a totally free version that you can play with. It keeps full details that their paid version does, just only collects data for 7 days. Then it times out. You can go back to their site and renew too as well. They have a totally free version that you can just go keep re-upping for every 7 days. So it's kind of cool. Sandy says, I've been literally trying to implement the same dynamic SQL in his laptop for the 10,000 count. My SSMS literally got stuck. Yeah, make sure you set no count on, because otherwise, or discard results after execution, because SSMS, the reason why I'm worried is SSMS will page to disk and your C drive will fill up. That's happened to me with some of my training class students. Over in YouTube, there's a comment. Great, thanks for your job. I'm from Russia. When do you open an office in Russia? I'm not gonna go outside the United States anytime soon, obviously. So, all right. So I will stop here, take a short bio break. We'll take a 5-minute bio break. I'll go refuel and get some hot espresso, and then we'll go do the next issue inside there. I think. Let me go take a quick look and see what the next issue is. I want to say the next issue, what was the next one? Oh, there's a check in SP Blitz First, SP Blitz First, where I did an SPMS for each DB recently. That turns out it was a bad idea. If you have more than, say, 1,000 databases, it ends up being very slow. And of course, yes, there are people out in the world with more than 1,000 databases. So next, I'm going to use Dynamic SQL to go create. I won't go 1,000. I'm just going to go like 100 databases, and then I'm going to build in code in SP Blitz First to say if they have more than, say, 50 databases, then go skip that check. So 5-minute bio break, and we will come right back. I'll see you back here in 5 minutes. Okie dokie. All right. So we have fresh espresso. We are gradually popping back in when Seal says it's 4 a.m. Don't you need to sleep? I'll sleep when I'm dead. I actually get a lot of sleep. I get more sleep than probably I think anybody else that I know. I'm usually in bed around 8 and I read for like half an hour before I conk out. Um, and then I'm up usually around 2, ballpark, yeah, 2, 2:33, somewhere in there. But then I take a nap every day. So every day I'm out, 2, 3 p.m. I'll be out for an hour, hour and a half. So it feels almost like I get 2 days in. But the morning day, so the first half of the day, so like 3 a.m. till noon. So like 3 a.m. till noon, I'll work. And then I'll take a nap, lunch, take a nap, and then in the afternoon, it's no work. It's all just totally whatever I feel like doing. Yes, power naps. And it feels like I'm getting 2 days. It almost feels like I'm cheating. In the second day, I don't do jack. It's all goofing off. When I wake up out of the nap, my wife and I'll just hang out, talk, and we'll watch some TV. We'll go out, or grab dinner, go walk around, and then come back, watch some more TV, read, play games, whatever. So it almost feels like I'm cheating. It's kind of fun. All right. Mm. The crappy coder followed during the break. Thanks. Sandy says you have one of the best sleeping times, as far as I know. And it's been like this ever since, like when I was in high school, I would get up at 6 a.m. And I would get up without an alarm or whatever, and just through my life, it's gradually drifted earlier and earlier. I said early on, I said I was going to tell you about our sleep schedule and the whole marriage thing. I'm in Pacific time zone. One of I said I was going to tell you about the secret to marriage with Erica and all that. So when Erica and I first started going out, this is like 2000, around about the year 2000, like 20 years ago. When we first started going out, I had my morning schedule and she had an evening schedule. So she would wake up at like 10 or 11 a.m. and be up the whole day, and she would be up until like 1 or 2 a.m. And she kept going. If you loved me, you would stay up. If you loved me, you would stay awake with me. And this went on for like 6 months or a year. She would give me all this, you don't love me enough, you're not staying up late. And I said, okay, watch this. I said, on Saturday, you're getting up with me. You're going to get up with me, and you're going to do my schedule. If you loved me, you would get up with me. And so she prepped for it, and she was all ready. She slept early the night before, and she gets up at 6 a.m. with me, and we run all kinds of errands. We do all the kind of stuff that I would go and do, get all kinds of stuff done. And by 12 noon, she was like, oh my God. She's like, you are so productive. You get so much done. She's like, I can't even believe it. She's like, an entire workday. And she's like, now I get it. Things are actually open when you're awake. She goes, nothing is open at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., the things that I need to go and do, or I would want to go and fetch or go out to a restaurant or whatever for breakfast. And she's like, I totally get it now. And ever since then, she was totally at peace with, I have my morning time and she has her evening time. So I still get up like 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I have 3, 4, 5 hours of good productivity before she even wakes up. Then we can relax and have breakfast together. And then we have our, between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m., that's the times that we spend together. And then she gets her evening time to go do whatever she wants. So it's almost like we have totally separate schedules where we're almost like still dating. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. So we still get plenty of alone time. Like, she would never want to sit here and watch me stream. And Dave says this is why there are no kids. I don't know how this happened. That's an interesting separate side thing. I actually always wanted kids. I've always wanted kids. I thought I'd be a great dad. And when I met Erica, she did not want kids at all. She didn't want anything to do with kids. She didn't want anything to do with marriage. She didn't want to go to church. Somehow I managed to find the only woman from Central America who doesn't go to church, doesn't do the family dinner thing, doesn't want kids, doesn't want to spend holidays with family, is fiercely independent, didn't want marriage. I mean, I'm like, well, this is totally like the opposite of what you usually hear for stereotypical cultural type things. And it wasn't like I was purposely going after any of those things. But so we were such a good fit that I just said, okay, I'm willing to compromise on that. I'll live without kids. And now that I'm in my 40s and we don't have kids, exactly, Michael, you're exactly right. We couldn't have nice things if we had kids or travel. Like we gone all over the world and seen all kinds of stuff. So now at this point, I'm kind of stuck in my rut. And if heaven forbid, if she passed away, I would not want kids now at this point. Like we're settled in the way that we are. Dave says, where did we meet? We met at the company we worked at. So she was the receptionist at a small software company that I went to work for. And so I went to the first tech job I ever had was in Houston, Texas, joined in like 1999 at a software company. I'd never worked for a software company before, so I had no idea what to expect. And I go into this software company, and everybody there, other than me, almost everyone there at this company is a young, attractive woman. And I'm like, software companies are amazing. This is fantastic. Like every one of them were in their 20s. They were from all over the world, just lots of different cultures. And I didn't understand it at the time, but the company owner was a sexist pig. That is why he would just only hire young, attractive women. Well, I was young at the time. I didn't know how those things work. But to me, I was just like, oh my God, I want to work in software for the rest of my life. I'm surrounded by beautiful people. And even more than that, the only guys there were married. There were like a handful of guys there. They were all in their like 40s, 50s, 60s. They were all married. So all these young, attractive women wanted to go out and party every night. So we would go out to dance clubs, bars, restaurants every single night of the week. And I was the only guy there. And so, of course, got along really well with everybody. And at one point, one of the women there liked me a lot, and she kept trying to get me to go out with her. And one night we're all horribly drunk, and she's just like, "You've got to come. If you don't come sleep with me tonight." And I'm like, right in front of everybody. And I'm like, I don't know how to say this, but no. And I know, right? The crappy coder, you're right. That was my thought too. I thought it was really respectable. And then later I find out that the guy's just a sexist pig. So this woman's like all over me, and I'm like, no. And she's, why? And I'm like, because I really like that one over there, Erica. Like I'm madly in love with Erica. Erica's like, wait, what? And so it was like, nope, out of everybody here, she's the one that I want to be with. And I just knew from the moment I laid eyes on her, I'm like, she's the one, that's absolutely the one for me. So we've been together ever since. That was a little over 20 years ago now. We celebrated our 20th anniversary together. Took us 13, 14 years before I could get her to marry me, but that's it. Dave, it's true. So somebody else was saying during the live classes, what I do if you're in the live class season pass, is I'll go out and tell stories every now and then from time to time. And I've started including them in the class recordings, but I make them totally free. Like nobody has to pay to get these. Because I feel like it would be a ripoff if I tried to charge people for that kind of thing. So if you go to some of the class modules and if you're looking at the instant replays, so if I'm going to go to mastering query tuning, for example, nope, I don't have it in there yet. Let me try mastering servers. Oh, master sniffing has it. Mastering parameter sniffing, yeah, there's bonus storytelling time. So I'm going to say bonus storytelling time. Chat, put that out in chat. Hopefully it makes it out into Twitch. Restream's acting a little weird. Well, let me go open it then. Let me go open Twitch. And then I'll just put it into the comments over here, and let's see if that works. Bonus storytelling time, boom. Let's see if oh yeah, that worked perfectly. Okay, cool. So that way you can go in. All the training classes, whenever I do stories inside there, I'm starting to add them in. So then that way you can at least go in and see it. So in storytelling time from mastering parameter sniffing, the time when Erica and I got married in Vegas, and then how I got started as a consultant too. That was a really funny story too. Okay, so talking about going off on all kinds of unrelated stuff. So we fixed the arithmetic overflow. Now it's time for our next one. The next problem we'll go and solve inside the first responder kit. True story too. Let me tell you something else. Might as well go totally off track. I'll go out to the big camera so that you can see this. And I'm going to turn on another light. I've got a light that automatically turns off and on depending on the camera angle. So I had originally, when I started doing multiple cameras inside Twitch and Restream and all that, I wanted to have a camera facing my chair down here in my office, and I was going to do storytelling time. I was going to go over to the chair and just sit in the chair and do storytelling. Nick Craver says story time is the best time. So I was going to do that. I was going to have a camera angle for that. I did it recently on a Quest webcast. I just have to buy one more good camera, so I'm waiting for that. Yes, Oizokin, we have two of them. That was like my life goal, one of my life quest kind of things was to have an original Eames chair ordered with our own leather and all that. And so we get all to the point of ordering it, and I'm like, I want red leather. I want lipstick red leather. And my wife is like, sorry, I'm overruling you there. She's like, that looks incredibly ugly. And I'm like, no, it's gorgeous. It's classic. It's very 1960s. And she's like, nope, it needs to be cream. I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. So, all right, so back over on this one. So, Surly Dev. You know, she's now into me buying the technology thing because she's seen the results of the streams, and she's like, oh, there are things I still have to work on all over with it, but the thing I'm working on next is, I don't know if any of y'all have seen Alton Brown, like Alton Brown's Good Eats. Recently what he's doing is he's doing a camera angled straight down. I'm working on that for one of my live streams with showing you how statistics work using playing cards. So I've bought a camera arm and all this, and I'm gonna have a camera straight over my desk shooting down so you can watch my hands doing things with playing cards. Started to go to a dark place, right? Watch my hands doing things. Woo! Yeah, I think that he can take amazingly hard issues and boil them down using things that you wouldn't have expected, models, puppets, and all that. He has always been my goal for filmmaking and explaining things. Him and Mythbusters, I think those are two excellent ones. So yeah, boil them down. I didn't catch that either. That was actually pretty good. All right. Oh, so, Andy says, to which channel do you refer? So that's Alton Brown's Good Eats. So if you search for Alton Brown Good Eats, there are a bunch of videos out there that you can go and watch examples of, but brilliant camera work, like shooting from inside an oven, looking back at the host, just absolutely fantastic. But it is very much like Fraser. We're not in the Pacific Northwest, but we're extremely close. All right, so now there's this. So let's fix this bug. So this bug's really brilliant. I just recently added something in SP Blitz First that looks for outdated statistics. No, I'm sorry, not outdated. It looks for stats that recently changed. So SP Blitz First, as a reminder, is the first stored procedure I run when there's a performance emergency. When all of a sudden SQL Server is slow and you don't know why. What it does is it takes a snapshot of a whole bunch of things to TempDB, waits for 5 seconds, takes another snapshot, and compared what was different during those 5 seconds to see what changed. It doesn't start a trace. It doesn't start extended events. All it's looking for is how much did you read and write to storage? What were your top wait types? What were your top queries during that time span? Well, while it's waiting for 5 seconds, I do a bunch of other stuff too. I'm like, hey, as long as we're waiting, let me go check a few other things, like, is there a backup running? Is there a data file growing? Are there heaps with forwarded fetches during this time span? One of the things that I added recently was to go say, hey, have any statistics been updated in the last 15 minutes? Because if stats get updated, that can trigger parameter sniffing and can cause new execution plans. Dave, yes, absolutely, because supported in any database. So it can cause new execution plans to get created that when that triggers, it'll hit parameter sniffing. I want to know if stats on a very central table have been updated because it'll blow all my query plans out of cache that touch that table. In the classic Stack Overflow databases examples that I always use, that would be, for example, the posts table. If stats somehow got updated on the posts table in the middle of the day, I would be screwed. So to do this, though, I have to check in every user database. So I'm doing SPMS for each DB. SPMS for each DB is an undocumented, barely supported stored procedure that loops through all your live databases. What I didn't think of is what happens if you have, say, 1,000 databases. It would take a really long time to run through that, and that's what this Will McCardle reported. Hey, I've got like 1,000 databases on a server with no activity and 1,002 databases. SP Blitz First is taking 39 to 62 seconds to run. And when he reported that in Slack, I'm like, dude, that's brilliant. You just throw it in as an issue. I'll take care of it. And for me, I think I'm just going to say it as like 20 databases. If you have more than 20 databases on a server, I don't think it really makes sense to run this check. So what I need to go do is I need to go put, I said first earlier, like we did in the first one like an hour ago, I want to repro the bug first. Then I want to put my fix in and make sure that it actually solves the bug. Well, to repro the bug, I'm going to need 1,000 databases. Well, 100, let's say 100 databases. So I love that Will even put in his bug report here, he even said, here's a script to go create 100 databases. Just absolutely fantastic. So let's go use it. Nick Craver. And much less. Hey, it could be worse. It could be 1,000 schemas. Am I right? I mean, really. So his script inside here. No, and bots go, Nick's being sarcastic. They have that same problem with hundreds of databases. My Fog Creek software has talked about that they've had 10 to 12,000 databases per server at one time. So, he says, I know. Okay, good. So I'm going to create these databases as test because I want to just be able to very rapidly drop them when they're over. So let's just make a list. Instead of 100 or 1,000 databases, I'm only going to do 100. That should give me everything that I want. I want to make sure that my default database or my default directory for creating all these databases isn't on the C drive. I just want to make sure that I'm heading off somewhere else, and I am. I'm on the M drive, so that's completely fine. So let's go create ourselves 100 databases. As that finishes, I'm going to go run SP Blitz first. Yeah, even with that, I agree with you 100%. I at some point, I think we had an issue open to add a check for that in SP Blitz first, because I am also amazed by that they don't hit it more often, or that they hit it sporadically and they don't realize that it's a problem with SQL Server and connections. So let's go over to databases, and now we have 100 databases inside here. Okay, good times. Now, if I run SP Blitz first with just the default parameters, and I'm going to say execute, there's no activity going on this SQL Server. SP Blitz first on no activity usually takes about 5 seconds. Now here, I seem to be okay. It took 5 seconds even though I had 100 databases. I'm going to glance. I don't think that I have a specific message in the output. So let's go open SP. You know, it's actually possible too that, yeah, well, and especially the other problem is availability groups. So with availability groups, it causes even more problems just with worker thread exhaustion. So let's go check to make sure we have the most recent SP Blitz first. Okay, that's a really good point, and I'm not going to loop through to that extent. But what I'm just going to go do is I'm going to put debug messages inside SP Blitz first to just track that we're actually doing this first. So let's go get SP Blitz first, and let's say, let's do SPMS for each DB. And let's see how many. So here's the one place where we're using it. This is the one I recently added, looking for stats that were updated recently. Let's check to see if there are any else. So that's the only one. Okay, good. I like that. All right, so now let's log a message saying that we're doing something, raise roar. So here's our raise roar statement, and let's go back to SPMS for each DB. So let's put in a raise roar in here. And I like to put, whenever I'm doing debug type stuff, I like to put fix in here because I'll do a search for fix and remind myself that these are the parts that I got to take out once we're done doing our quick testing. So I'm going to say about to run, I'll just copy paste this in, stats for each DB. And then I'm also going to print get date. Does that work? Can I just print get date like that? Yep, perfect. Oh, it's not super accurate though. I'm kind of disappointed that it doesn't have the milliseconds. Dave's, yes, that's the problem, is deploying it as part of my, this comment is a lot, to be removed in the next version. Dave, yeah, just because deploying it is something that sometimes people won't deploy every script. And the other thing is that sometimes people will run these as temp stored procedures. They'll put them in tempdb as just with pound in the beginning of them and run them from there. I would be totally okay if somebody wanted to replace all of them, but in SP Blitz, it's going to be a ton of work. So about to run the stats. I really wish that there was a fine-grained, I guess there would be, select get date as start time. You know, if I'm going to do this real rocket surgery, why don't we just do a damn declare? Declare start time. Stat start time, date time 2 equals get date, equals get date. And then copy this out. Yeah, and Botsko, that's exactly, I'm glad you copy pasted that in. I would have done the same thing if I hadn't already typed this here, but that's exactly where I should have gone. Yep, exactly. Yep, you are. I like where your style is there. So I'm going to say finished stats for each DB, and then select. I should keep that in there. So select. Let's see. You did gate date minus stats start time as elapsed. There we go. And I don't even need to select. Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's just throw it in. Execute. So whoop. Oh, you suck. Okay, all right, so instead of the super accurate, I'm going to do the less accurate. There we go. SP Blitz first. Let's go see how that goes. So it looks like it was 1.8 seconds. So 1.8 seconds, even with nothing in these databases. So that is not quite so good. Print since this date time. You're all over it. So I'm good with that. I'm happy with where we're at just in terms of diagnostic stuff. So now let's rip it out. So now let's close out of there. Close out of the SP Blitz cache. Whoopsie daisy. So let's put that back in. Now back over on SP Blitz first code. So now I want to say I only want to run this if, what? Did I not put that in the right place? No, there it is. It's perfect. So I only want to run this if we have, I'm going to say 20. I'm going to make an executive decision. I'm going to say if we have more than 20 user databases, we're not going to check it. So I'm going to say if 20 is less than or equal to select count star from sys databases. And I think I'm going to go for user databases, select star from sys databases. In the past, when I've checked for user databases, in the past when I've done this, I have said a user database is anything with a database ID over 4. But here's the thing. I'm starting to see hints inside of sys messages, which is where Microsoft ships diagnostic messages that aren't necessarily public yet. In sys messages, there are hints that SQL Server is going to have system databases inside. Nick says, I usually use getDate. Really, for me, I do, just because I'm used to using it for just my own quick diagnostic purposes, I do getDate. When we log stuff to table, I do UTC. So I should get in the habit of doing UTC everywhere. The servers, usually my servers are in UTC. This one's actually in Pacific, which is weird. But yeah, habit. So as I'm seeing, as I'm trying to be gentle about this, so Microsoft is dropping hints that they're going to put the system databases inside contained availability groups. So because of that, I don't know that system databases are only going to be database IDs 1 through 4. It's possible that you would have extra system databases that are involved in the availability group that are also inside here. So what I'm going to do is, as I come across inside here, let's see if there's anything else that I want to use to designate that it's a user database as opposed to a system database. And as you get off further out here, see, yeah, look at this out here, physical database name. So this is what the hint that you would have. Is MS shipped? I don't think is in sys databases. So let's see, is MS shipped? Yeah, it's not in sys databases, which kind of blows. I wish that it would be. So then as you get further out to the right-hand side, there is physical database name, but this isn't available in earlier versions of SQL Server, so I can't use that. But that's kind of your hint that they're going to bring over multiple databases with the same name, meaning like master, model, and MSDB. So what I'm going to do for right now is, instead of using database name, is I'm going to use the names. I mean, instead of using database ID, I'm going to use the names. Dave says, what about resource DB? Well, it's not in sys databases, so I don't have to worry about it. It's conceivable that they could have that in a system, in a contained availability group. I don't think that they would do that, though, since it's tied to the version that you're on, like the build number that you're on. So in here, I went to all of that just to tell you why. Yeah, exactly. So just to tell you why I'm not saying database ID is less than or equal to 4. I'm going to say select count star from sys databases where name not in master, model, MSDB, tempdb. Whoops. tempdb. And I know somebody who's going to read the source code and they're going to be like, Brent, you should have used database ID. And I'm going to just give them the virtual finger. So if less than that, then begin. So we're only going to do it in those circumstances. Let's tab this little fella in and then end. So now let's make sure that we've got that. If 20 is less than or equal to, so less than or equal to begin. Okay, I think that's going to work. Let's delete that out. Let's execute, and let's go see if she runs. Now I'm not expecting to see the elapsed time is, wait, what? So let's go back and look at the messages. Running finish stats for each DB and about to run. I should have put that inside the 20 because I don't know that those actually ran. So let's cut this and put it inside, or I'm going to pop back into here. I'll say copy, put it inside of here, paste, and inside stats for each DB. So I want to make sure that I'm not hitting that raise roar, and let's execute that and then come over here. It is, damn it. So if I go back into here, it ran the inside stats for each DB. Damn it. So if I'm in here, if 20 is less than or equal to, you moron, I have I have this stuff backwards. It should be if 20 is greater than or equal to, you idiot. But you know, this is why we test. So execute and then come back over and run it again. Invalid name of what? Oh, do we use it somewhere else? Let's hit Control F and this. Oh, it is. Oh, you moron. So I put the end in the wrong place. Okay, this is why we test. So let's yank this out and cut and tab you in one more, tab, and paste. So there we go. Try it one more time. And, well, I say one more time, I mean, that's like cursing yourself, right? Because, of course, okay, good. Now our time dropped to like 3 milliseconds because it skipped that part of the query. If I go in here and look, yes, sweet, this is fantastic. It skipped the inside for each DB loop. Okay, good. So this appears to work. So now I need to go drop those 20 databases and make sure that this connection or this trick actually works. That when I have less databases in here, that I'll be able to run the loop. So let's go get rid of all our test databases. SQL Server Management Studio quality is job 432. This thing sucks so bad. So let's delete all those. And delete, continue. I don't need to delete backup and restore history. It's deleting. Most likely to succeed. And Dave, you're right. You know, it's funny. When you talk about something completely unrelated, you talk about time to switch to Azure Data Studio. So something almost kind of completely unrelated. When Apple announced the switch to ARM, so within like 2 years, all of the Macs are going to be on ARM processors, their own Apple Silicon processors rather than Intel's. That also sounds a death knell for those of us who use SQL Server Management Studio or SQL Server, because right now, neither of those would be supported on ARM. Now, so I use Management Studio extensively, not because I like it as a Peter says story time. Yes, welcome, Peter. Good to see you. I use SQL Server Management Studio mostly because I need to meet y'all where you are. So most of you are using SQL Server Management Studio as opposed to Azure Data Studio. So I need to teach you where you are, not where I want you to be. If I want you to be somewhere else, then I got to teach you that for free over on the blog. I got to get people there for free first, and then I can teach you over in Azure Data Studio. So that's, it kind of sounded a death knell for me. I've got a limited amount of time, say 2 years, to decide. One of the options is switch back over to Windows, like use Windows desktops, which I've tried repeatedly over the years to switch back over. I thought Windows 8 was fine. I thought Windows 10's really nice. I just have a hard time switching over because a lot of the apps that I use are on the Mac. Another option would be to leave a VM running in the cloud 24/7, just so that I could remote desktop into there and do stuff like teaching and screenshots for blog posts or whatever. Or try to get all of y'all over to Azure Data Studio. And I think that's actually what I'm going to do, is I'm going to try to coach people on moving over to Azure SQL DB. So it doesn't work. So little Bobby Tables, it doesn't work, unfortunately. So just because you can run it on Linux doesn't mean you can run SQL Server on ARM on Linux, and especially get all of the functionality that you're used to. Already, SQL Server on Linux doesn't support a lot of stuff that SQL Server supports. And Nick, I'm with you. Mine was a Pro, like the Mac Pro. I am so glad I got a Pro in before the ARM migration, because I like doing streaming on. I can only imagine how bad Streamlabs OBS and like this Twitch stuff is going to be over on ARM. Yeah, the new one runs on ARM, but the limitations are huge. It's just a big, massive list of stuff that they don't support. And even the licensing is really weird. Like it's only shipped with applications. You can't just use it as a standalone and build your own app kind of thing with it. So back a few minutes ago, SQL Dev DBA says, any chance there's a note that says skipping this check due to DB count for future users, wondering why it didn't return results. So there are actually a lot of things that we skip inside of SP Blitz first based on pressure and time. Like if your SQL server's really under heavy pressure, we'll bail out early already. Normally, I'm with you. We do that in all of our stuff like SP Blitz Cache, Blitz Index. We'll tell you skipped blank due to blank, but we haven't been doing that in SP Blitz first. So, all right, so let's go pop back over into here. So I've deleted my databases. Now I'm going to do one last test, which is just to make sure that it runs the stats check on relatively small databases, or relatively small servers, that is. So here's what it looks like when I have 100 databases. It doesn't show the inside the loop diagnostic messages right now. Now let's go back and run SP Blitz first again and go look, and it says inside stats. So now I can go rip out those diagnostic messages, and let's rip out those fix diagnostic messages because I don't need those anymore. Come back up here to the inside the loop one. I'm going to rip that out and rip this guy out. Run it one more time just to make sure that it works, that I didn't screw something up. And there we go. No problems are found. Beautiful. All right, ship it. So we've saved it. I can close that fella. Let me look in GitHub and see what the issue number is, 2439. Let's go make a branch over in GitHub. So 2439, SP Blitz first, skip stats check, new branch. Bring my work with me over to this new branch. And this is 2439, SP Blitz first, skip stats check. When server has over 20 databases, closes 2439. Commit, publish the branch, do a pull request, and put our little note in there. So I am assigned, this is a bug in SP Blitz first. And the milestone, it's going to be in the July release. Create my pull request. And then this is one of those things where I really want to change over to Azure Data Studio because it's a more elegant workflow inside Azure Data Studio instead of jumping around back and forth between a few different places. So I keep wanting to, the next time that I do one of these live streams with y'all on SP Blitz and all that, the live coding stuff, is I want to show you the workflow that I use over on the Mac instead, just because it's a little bit more elegant and refined, I think. But at the same time, I want to meet you where you're at rather than take you somewhere else. I'm already, a lot of people are usually alienated by GitHub to begin with, especially in the SQL Server world. All right, so I got my issue now closed, and now let's go put in a note. So thanks for the detailed repro script on adding databases. Coded, merged into the dev branch, will be in the July release along with a thank you in the release notes post. So comment. Now let's go over to our blog post. Oh, my session has expired. It's time to go get my password out of my password manager and get that little fella in, and WPX, and there we go. Copy and drop you in there, log in, and there we go. Oh, no, it's certainly dev. Oh, that's a good question. No, just put off in GitHub in general because it's not intuitive in any way, shape, or form. It is. I remember when Jeremiah Peshka, one of my business co-founders, a good friend of mine, brilliant, just super smart guy, was like, Brent, you got to put all your code over in GitHub. And I'm like, screw you. I'm just using a file share and it's easy and I can use things like Apple's Time Machine to jump back into a point in time. He's like, no, you got to do it. This is the way of the future. And this is, years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, this sucks. It's a pain in the rear. And I'm glad he made me do it. I feel the same way about using email. Jeremiah was like, look, I only use Gmail inside a web browser. Trust me, this way it works works exactly the same way everywhere. And I'm like, no, I like Outlook. And I switched over to it and broke my habits. And I'm like, oh my God, now Gmail in the web browser is fantastic compared to Outlook. But email's never going to take off. It's a trend. It's just like, what was the quote about iPods? Less storage than a creative nomad or whatever it was. So we've got that set. Let's see here. So this is, we'll put it in down here. So this is fix, skips last month's new update stats. Check when you have over 20 databases. Number 2439, thanks. And then who was that person? Let's copy paste the URL. Paste. And what was that person's name? That was Will McCardle. So Will McCardle. And close that one, paste that in, paste. All right, so now we got that one. This is why I'm like, really, it's ready for, we've got enough stuff inside here that we really could have done a release for, oh, you suck. You better not have lost my, it's not like it was that I put a lot of stuff inside there. Did you keep my stuff inside there? You did, yay! So we have enough stuff there that we could probably do a monthly release, but yeah, I feel the same way. I'm okay with, I haven't seen Wavebox. I kind of like having it in the browser because I open Chrome and I pop like 5 tabs. I have like 3 different emails. I got one for me, one for the company, one for Constant Care. Then I pop a tab for the calendar. I pop a tab for YouTube for Chilled Cow. Woohoo! Just a few other things. I don't, and I should actually, I'm going to quit Chrome. I'm going to quit Chrome so I can show it to you. I'm going to show you my default tabs that come in and open because I want you to see that one of my default tabs. The reason why is because I was originally going for whatever that badge is that you earn if you visit the site however many days in a row. I can't remember what it is, but I was going for that for quite a while, and I would look to see what my stretch was. I don't think I'm anywhere near that. I'm not even. Is it Fanatic? Let's see here. What's my progress towards the Fanatic badge? I don't know the, well, here we'll go. Stack Overflow Fanatic badge. Let's see what the number is. Botsko, what's your name on Stack Overflow? Let's go see here. Click on gear. See, I was going to do this. I was just going to go over to help and badges. And there we go. Okay, so but it doesn't show me how close I am to it. So Nick says, go back to the profile, click on the gear next to the badge area, choose which badge to track. Fanatic. Yeah, see, one of 100. Is that what it was? Or it went by so fast. 1 of 100. Yeah, Fanatic. Does that show how many? I think 1 of 100 means the number of days. And which I know isn't true. Like, I know I've accessed the system more than that, but at the same time, I'm like, that's why I kind of gave up on it. Okay, so bots go. I would say it's consecutive days. I had actually done consecutive. I was on there yesterday. I know I was on there yesterday because I was showing links to questions to students. But I'm like, okay, whatever. So bots go. Let's see if we can find you users. Bots go. Big money, no whammies. Nope, you must be UTC day. Oh, here we go with UTC. Bots go. No, it's something else. All right, that's cool. Okay, so we've been going for a little while. I am with different. I am also with different. So we've been going for a little while. Time to give a shout out to this week's sponsor. So this week's sponsor is SQL Grease. It is a SQL Server monitoring tool that you install on your desktop, connects to your SQL Server via extended events, sends stuff up to their cloud, and then they do things like machine learning to spot anomalous workloads. They spot monogamous workloads. Oh, that's just terrible. They spot things like anomalous workloads. They can tell you, give you recommendations on what you should do differently with your SQL Server. You can get started totally for free, and they have a 7-day version that you can install that has the full functionality of their paid version. It just only stores data for 7 days, and you can go back and re-up it. So that's nice if the boss says, hey, go find out what's going on with this SQL Server, or if you get a brand new SQL Server from somebody, like you have to take over one, you can just go install this to go find out what kind of bad shape it's in, and you get a quick idea within 7 days of what's going on. That's over at SQLgrease.com. So all right, we've been going for a little while longer. We will stop here for a bio break. I'll take another 5-minute bio break. I think this time I'm going to switch to hot water instead of espresso. We'll see. The espresso calls to me whenever I go into the kitchen. It's like, Brent, drink me. And it's still pretty early on. My coffee shop downstairs doesn't open for another 3 hours. My agenda today, I have to pack for vacation, so I have to pack a suitcase, but I'm probably not going to start that for another hour or two anyway. So let's start. Oh, we actually do have tea here. I am a huge fan of stuff like Earl Grey tea. I don't have any of that in the house. So we'll take a 5-minute bio break, and when we come back, I'm probably going to write a blog post. We'll go through the Idea Factory. That's the GitHub repo where I keep my ideas for blog posts, and we'll see if there's a blog post that makes sense to go bang out. So I'll take a 5-minute bio break, be back in 5 minutes. I know, right? Catch your eye. I'm absolutely correct. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. right, welcome back. So let's see here. So I mentioned that I have this GitHub repo that I call the Idea Factory. Peter says, love your playlist. Thanks, glad you like it. So let's see here. What have we got in the Idea Factory? Let's go over to our corporate list of repos, and then we'll go down here to the Idea Factory and our list of issues. So this in here, how geeky is that I keep the Richie, good morning, Richie. You know, Richie, it was really funny. When I was trying to decide what I was going to stream this morning, I was like, okay, there are GitHub issues I need to tackle. And I also need to prioritize the stuff for constant care, like go through and prioritize what are the next features that we should go through. And I was almost like rock, paper, scissoring which one of those I would do live in the stream. And I thought, you know what I should do is I should hold that until the week after I get back. Because what I'll do is when we're heading out, so Erica and I head out for vacation today. When I head out, that way I can go take my time going through the lists and like build a big picture idea of like what are we doing over the next quarter kind of thing. Because this is now we're getting to the point. Let's switch over for a second. Now we're getting to the point. So a little behind the scenes baseball type stuff for the company. So every year we do this big sale in November for Black Friday. We do a big monster Black Friday sale. And it's one of the biggest things we do all year in terms of revenue. The revenue is really high. It's a big chunk of, I want to say last year it was a third of our annual revenue all hit inside the month of November. So that's where when I do a lot of promotions, I'll announce new classes. So one of the things that I want to be able to do is say, all right, here are the features that we focused on recently in SQL Constant Care. So I have to start thinking now about what are the things that I want to be headline news. They won't be necessarily announced then. We may announce them before, but at least I want to be able to say in November, okay, over the last year, here are the things that we've added in Constant Care in the last year to kind of make sure that people get excited about it and all that. So I got to zoom out and think like big picture in terms of the feature list. What are the things that are going to make the largest difference? Botsko says, I still haven't looked at the project tab at all. That's actually a good idea. I'm going to make a note of that. Hold on a second. Let me write that down real quick. I'm going to go throw it over into my iPad just so that I got it. GitHub project planning. I don't know why I have the iPad way the hell over there. I can just put it right over here. So send. So if you've already got the issues. Yeah, exactly. Easy Cam. I totally need that. I tried Trello for a while. I just couldn't make it work for me. Not since it wasn't really directly connected with GitHub. Bosco says, can EU citizens participate in the sale this year? I want that to be the case. Like we're gradually working toward things. It wouldn't be constant care though. So constant care requires you sending in your server's diagnostic data to us. I only want to sell constant care in the EU if I can get your data to live in the EU too. I want you to be able to choose which data center your data lives in. To do that cost effectively, that means we have to put constant care's infrastructure in multiple data centers, which theoretically isn't that hard, but from a business standpoint, right now it's kind of expensive. Santi, yes, this is the Magic Keyboard version, which I like quite a bit, but it's heavy. It's kind of on the heavy side. So what we're aiming towards is Amazon Aurora has this serverless option where you have, so Botsko, we will knock on wood. I knock on wood, I want to be able to do it with the training classes. But I don't think we're anywhere near doing it with constant care because Aurora doesn't have serverless in a way that works for us yet. So we would have to pay some expensive money every month. No, I'm glad you asked. So to give you the idea of why it's challenging, right now I don't have the ability easily in the site to let Europeans buy one thing but not another. Like I don't easily have the way to just sell you the training and not sell you constant care. So, and there are a couple of other things behind the scenes where WordPress doesn't store data encrypted on disk. So I probably need to move to a different host. Right now I'm using WP Engine. And just to give you, so for hosting brentozar.com and all the WordPress stuff that I do, WP Engine, I'm on a hosting plan that costs about $2,000 US a month. I know. $2,000 US a month just to host WordPress. I want to say no to this, I just can't say it. Yeah, 2,000 bucks a month just to host WordPress because we do so many dynamic pages, things that aren't cached because it depends on your login and your permissions to see them. And we have things like the Black Friday sale, which are extremely bursty. WP Engine support is phenomenal. I'm very happy. I know. But I'm very happy with their support. It's worth it to me not to have to deal with support and to have Richie not deal with WordPress support and MySQL. I know you can pay more than that. So this is like the lowest tier of enterprise hosting where I have multiple web servers and database servers. So we have geo failover clustering and all that. And they sell higher enterprise tiers than that too as well. So I want to move away from that, and I want to move to something that lets me encrypt WordPress's database at rest. I don't want to have your PII if it's not encrypted at rest. To be really fully confident for the EU shops. Look, and if y'all look, there are people selling stuff in the EU on WordPress using things like WooCommerce, people's blogs. So every time you see an EU person's blog or you see an American blog where EU people are leaving comments, that is not in with the GDPR. That is actually not okay. You're storing personally identifiable data, emails, usernames, passwords, all that kind of stuff. Passwords are, of course, aren't unencrypted. That stuff's supposedly hashed with WordPress. But comments, the username, email address, full name, all that stuff, IP addresses is all going in the database unencrypted at rest. Unencrypted in the backups, it's just a hot mess. So I don't want to sell to the EU until I can not just meet the letter of the law, but the spirit. Like I want to make sure that if I'm in the EU and a lot of it, yep, I don't want to be made an example of. I want to be a good example, not a bad example. Nick, that's actually pretty good. Encrypted at best. Oh God, that's good. I'm totally using that. But no, so I really want it, and I love that y'all are interested in it. And I also know at the same time, like I have y'all on one hand, and I really want to get the training out everywhere, especially in this time with the viruses that we just can't travel. Realistically, I'm not making it to Europe anytime soon. God knows that y'all don't want to see Americans over there. I read the newspapers all the time. I don't blame you. You can practically see the coronavirus hovering all over me as I type this. But so I want to get there. I hope to get there. I hope I can do it this year. That's one of my big hopes, but fingers crossed. To do it, I'm going to have to migrate to another WordPress host. Okay, so anyway, back over here into the blog. I don't even remember how we got started on this. I don't know, it might have been the EU thing. So back over here on the blog, we have a whole bunch of ideas for WordPress or for blog posts. Some of them are old. Some of them are going to be kind of hard for me to do. Wow. It's amazing. 351 of them are closed. That's kind of awesome. Some of these, I've looked at some of them recently, and I'm not totally wild about some of these. I am kind of wild about this one. You can disable parameter sniffing, but you shouldn't. And the reason why I'm kind of wild about this is this will also be kind of fun to explain live on a stream so that I can record this and then also have it in as part of the blog post where people see me demoing this stuff live. Now that I'm teaching parameter sniffing classes, I'm surprised at the number of students who ask. They're like, can't I just get around all of this by... Here, hold on a second. I'm gonna put a marker in on the stream just so that I can appropriately get this to start, and we'll do a nice intro and all that. So now that I'm teaching parameter sniffing classes, I noticed a surprising number of people who are like, but there's an option on the database called disable parameter sniffing. Can't you just disable that? Well, you can, but the results are terrible. So in order to show it to you, I'm going to use the Stack Overflow users table. As we go through and do this, I'm going to be saving my code and we'll be writing the blog post together. And then you'll see the blog post go live and you'll see the scripts and all that. So let's go get started. To do it, let me go close my other management studio because we got a couple of these here and I want to have it less confusing as possible. To do it, I'm going to use the Stack Overflow database. I'm going to use our old trusty users table here. So I'm going to start by dropping all the indexes. And then I'm going to say create 2 indexes. I'm going to create one on last access date, on DBO users last access date. Then I'm also going to create an index on, well, you say that, VTOL freak. You'll learn some of the gotchas with that here. Create index location on DBO users. We'll do display name. Display name. Yeah, we'll do display name. On DBO users display name. So we'll create both of those. Then I'm going to create a stored procedure so that we have parameter sniffing type problems. Create or alter proc DBO USP search users by name at display name varchar. Whoops, these are nvarchar 40 as select top 1000 star from DBO users where display name equals display name. Order by reputation descending, just because I want to do something that's going to require a memory grant. So right now, if I execute this search, if I say exec USP search users by name, and I search for a display name that's rather unique. So I'm going to say, for example, Brent Ozar. If I search for this, let's go put the stored procedure into production. If I search for this and I look at the execution plan, SQL Server is willing to use the index because it thinks that Brent Ozar is fairly unique. Boy, it's true in so many ways. SQL Server uses the statistics on that index we created up there about display name to say, let me go check to see how many Brent Ozars there are. Oh, there aren't that many, so I should probably do an index seek. And I'm not going to need very much memory in order to sort this stuff when it's only Brent Ozar, when there's only one row. If I hover my mouse over the select, look at the memory grant there. The memory grant is only 1 megabyte, and that's it. Hey, for Surly Dev, let me go move that in so that y'all can see it a little bit better. There you go. Estimated number of rows is 1.5 something, and the memory grant is only 1 megabyte. Well, now, the classic problem with parameter sniffing is that if I turn around and I run that same stored procedure again, and I run it for, say, Alex, Alex is one of the more common display names at Stack Overflow. So you can see here that more rows come back. But due to parameter sniffing, SQL Server thought there weren't going to be that many Brents. SQL Server reuses that execution plan and the estimates. 10,000 rows come back, so we end up doing 10,000 key lookups. This plan may not be as efficient for Alex. And then we don't end up budgeting enough memory for this. Instead of, so our 1 megabyte memory grant that worked okay for Brent Ozar, it doesn't work as okay for Alex, and we end up spilling stuff to TempDB. This is the classic parameter sniffing problem where the first plan that goes in memory isn't so good for everyone else. Or is it? Because really, at the end of the day, this query runs nearly instantaneously. People get distracted by that sort and go, oh God, no, a sort that spills to disk. But who cares? It's not really that big of a deal here in this scenario. The query still runs instantly. And you know what? If I free the plan cache, and then I turn around and run Alex first, and I get an execution plan that's perfect for Alex, the execution plan for Alex, it's the same plan. It still does an index seek plus a key lookup. Sure, the numbers are different. It's estimating 9,000 Alexes here instead of 2, but the shape of the plan is the same. The difference is that the sort no longer spills to disk, which is good, right? Or is it? SQL Server's like, danger. I gave you way too much memory. I didn't understand that most of the columns in here are null. So I gave you 50 megabytes of RAM and you only used a little bit. Both of these have pros and cons inside of them, but it's the same shape of the plan. It's not really that big of a deal. Now, to fix it, what people have done in the past is that they've turned, I should say, Peter says, I love the SQL Server voice. I should explain for the rest of you who don't know, too. I always use a guy's voice for SQL Server because he's dumb and stubborn and he refuses to ask for directions. He's all, trust me, I got this, when he doesn't usually got this. So people see problems like this, and I use problems very usefully. People see problems like this. I got another voice too, and I'm trying to figure out what to use it with. I don't want to show you yet, but my wife was reminding me that I've been using the same voices, and I have all these other voices too at home that I do, and I'm like, oh, there's one that I really enjoy. So people see this, and they're like, oh, I should fix this problem. I have a problem with parameter sniffing. So they go over here into the database, they right click on the database, they go into properties, they go over here into options, and they find this option in here called parameter sniffing. Now I am going to go highlight this and take a screenshot of this, which I should have been doing all along just in order to prep for the blog post. So they see this and they go, oh, this is bad. I should turn this off. I guess I need a user voice too. So they go to turn this off. I'm going to script it just so that I have that for the purposes of the blog post. So they go to script it, and now I'm going to go, yeah, well, I'm in Stack Overflow, so that's fine. Well, that's interesting. I wonder why they put that. I'm surprised that they did it in regular case there instead of all uppercase. That seems unusual. So they're like, oh, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to turn off parameter sniffing and things will be better. So I'll go in and I'll turn that off. Then I'm going to free the plan cache just because sometimes users will think that you need to do that. I'm going to free the plan cache and then I'm going to go run Alex again and let's see what execution plan do we have here. Well, that's idiotic. Now, I don't have the problem of parameter sniffing anymore. Now I get one consistent plan, but that plan still sucks for outliers. If you call it for something like Alex, and I use the term sucks loosely, because here, again, it's running nearly instantaneously. So they think they've solved the problem because now they get just one execution plan that's consistent for everybody. Now this really has a really small blast radius for equality queries. If you're just doing an equality search, it's not really that big of a deal. I'm totally okay with it. But it's different when you talk about range searches. Now we don't do range searches on names. Every now and then you might say like, beginning with like Alex. But what's much more common for searches with ranges are dates or numbers. And I'm going to use dates as an example because it's also something that people will search across ranges for. So let's reset and let's put parameter sniffing back on. And so turn it on. I guess I'll use that same syntax there. I'm going to free the plan cache, and I'm going to, just because people think that you need to do that. Then I'm going to go write another stored procedure. This time I'm going to search by date. So let's copy this out. And I'm going to do, instead of by name, I'm going to say by last access date. And I'm going to start by saying just equality date. And say date time. And I'm going to say, go get me the top 1,000 users where last access date equals equality date. No one ever searches like this. So, however, though, if you use parameter sniffing disabled on here, it doesn't have that big of a blast radius. So let's go put this stored procedure into place. And then let's go run it. Let's say exec I'm like popping all around with my results tab because I keep changing what I want to do. Equality date equals, and I'm just going to pick a date, 2018-01-01 at, we'll say, at 9 o'clock a.m. So if I run this and I turn on the actual execution plan, and I got to turn on the actual execution plan. If I run this and turn on the actual execution plan, there aren't any rows that matched one particular date and time. SQL Server still estimated one row, but this is how equality searches work on dates and times. There just aren't that many dates and times where people all logged in at exactly the same time. Let's go find out. Let's say select top 100, last access date, count star as recs from DBO users, group useris, group by last access date, order by count star descending. And odds are there are like edge case scenarios where we had a few people log in at the same time. So here at this exact moment, we had 4 people log in at the exact same time, which is frankly kind of remarkable, almost unbelievable. So if I run it for that, technically the execution plan is off, but who cares? It doesn't really matter whether you turn on or off parameter sniffing, and here the dates are so evenly distributed it doesn't matter. Where it matters is range searches on things like dates. So let's take our stored procedure and let's modify it so that it looks based on dates. So let's say same exact stored proc, but this time I'm going to say range, or I'll say start date. And I got to name it by last access date range because I'm probably, if I do this in a class, I'm going to have multiples running at the same time. Start date, end date, date time. And we'll say where last access date. If normally I like using between because it's shorter to type, but people get freaked out and they start to ask about the ends and greater than or equal than. Behind an empty cache. That makes sense. I can believe that. Santi says, isn't key lookup bad? I'm not going to cover that inside here, but my short answer is, as long as you're doing less than like 1,000, it's not really that big of a deal. So where last access date greater than or equal to start date, and last access date less than end date. So now I got that thing up, put into production. Now let's go call it. So let's say exec USP search users by last access date range. So I'm going to start by calling it for a small date range. So I'll say start date equals, and I'll line break it to make it a little nicer on the blog. Start date equals, let's say 2018-01-06-01. Oh, well, no, I don't want to make it too confusing for people. Hi, Ian. 2016-08-01 at 9 a.m. And end date equals 2018-06-01 at 9:30 a.m. So let's see how SQL Server handles this. So if I search for a small date range and I look at my plan, look at how beautifully accurate that estimate is. That's phenomenal because SQL Server is using the statistic histogram to figure out how many people access the system during that date range. That's phenomenal. That's great. Now, though, what happens when someone calls it for a different date range? What happens if, say, someone calls it for all the way through till the next day? Let's say that we want to go through, or we'll go through 5 p.m. because people would say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 5 p.m. is 1700. So now let's run it for an entire day. So we ran it from 9 till 5, and if we look at the execution plan, now this is no bueno. Here, SQL Server is doing 200,000 key lookups. This is where we're now reading more pages than there are in the table, and we didn't guess enough memory for the sort. Here's where people are like, parameter sniffing, oh my God, I'm screwed. I need to disable this. This is very bad. And you could. Does that work, though? So let's go try it. Let's go try disabling parameter sniffing, and let's try running this query again. So let's come up, and grab this and paste it. And I'm going to set it off this time. I'm going to disable parameter sniffing, free the plan cache because people believe that they need to do that. Then I'm going to run it for my 2 sets of parameters again. I'm going to run it for, say, 9 a.m. to 9:30. Now remember before, 9 a.m. to 9:30 had a chef's kiss estimate in terms of number of rows. It was absolutely perfect, and so SQL Server chose to use the index followed by the key lookups. Now what does it do? SQL Server believes that 1.4 million rows are going to come back, so it simply ignores the index. This estimate is smoking crack. But this is what you get whenever you disable parameter sniffing. It's okay when you're dive bombing in for equals because SQL Server optimizes for the equal or for the average value inside the table. But here, you're not getting any kind of estimate that makes any sense for reality. Here, SQL Server is ignoring your indexes. And also, you end up with this stunning memory grant, 5 gigs in this case. It's not even 5 gigs worth of data in the table. So what are the pros and cons of this? Well, now it's estimating for a very large number of rows, which ends up helping us if we truly do need a large number of rows. Like this guy, if we ran it for 9 to 5, then it does make sense to ignore the indexes. So now I've got a basic demo write-up or I've got a basic set of demos that explain the things that I'm trying to communicate inside the blog post. Now I have to stitch it into the story. Sandy says, I was about to write, why in the hell would they keep it on? And then this plan came up. So if you knew you were searching for large portions of the table all the time, it could make sense. But what people don't realize is that it's not just about sniffing for equalities, it's also sniffing about ranges. And here, that 1.4 million makes absolutely no sense. So now I got to figure out how I'm going to make it tell the story. So I've got the demos that I want to teach. And then it becomes a question of, like, how do I stitch this into a story that makes sense? Do I need all of those demos? Short story sniffing is bad. Too long, didn't read. So how do I stitch that into a blog post that makes sense? And like when I'm going to write a blog post, I always want to think about what am I going to sum it up with? What's the first sentence of the blog post going to be? And what's the last sentence of the blog post going to be? What is going to be the thing where I say, and here's why you care about that particular setting? So what would I want someone to take away from that demo? And this will also tell me the structure I need to use for the demos. So what do I want someone to take away? I want them to understand that when you turn this setting off, when you turn off parameter sniffing, it can have major backfires when you're searching for ranges of stuff. That SQL Server may ignore your indexes because it just makes crazy high estimates. So my clickbait title that I had inside the original GitHub issue, I was like, why you probably shouldn't disable parameter sniffing. I don't think I want to lead with that title. I might want to change this as to say, if you disable parameter sniffing, your indexes may not get used. That might be one way for me to say it. Or if you disable parameter sniffing, SQL Server, okay, here's what it is. If you disable parameter sniffing, SQL Server won't know what you're looking for. So Santi says, what if we use specific hints to force a specific index? So then that'll backfire every time the index gets disabled or renamed. Your query will simply fail. I have hope that will change in a future version of SQL Server, because now that Azure has automatic tuning, Nick, why you shouldn't turn off your nose the first time. And why it's useful, because then when your toddlers need their diapers changed, you need, I don't know that I can make all that analogy work. You can usually tell when I make those jokes that I don't have children, and so I can't make those kinds of jokes. I wish it was like plan suggestions. I wish index hints were more like plan suggestions. In Azure, they're now doing automatic index tuning, but it also means they'll drop your indexes if you want. Well, when they drop your indexes, your queries can fail, That's why I think after enough of those support calls where people are going, hey, my queries are failing all because of your Azure Indexes thing, I have faith that eventually they'll change the way SQL Server reacts to index changes. And I have faith that they'll start just ignoring index hints when they don't point to a valid index, because that would be much smarter behavior. Okay. So if my big takeaway is if you use parameter sniffing, SQL Server won't know what you're looking for, I think I'm going to use that as I don't know that I need the name example here anymore. I think I could just get by with the last access date example. So I could say that if you were searching, no, because no one searches for equalities on dates. I don't know that that's as meaningful to people. I think I'm still going to do the 1-2 punch. I think I'm going to start with the display name equals Alex example, and then because I'm going to say disabling parameter sniffing is harmless in that case, doesn't really hurt. But when we get to the range surface ones, that's where this is bad. Okay, let's pop back in here and start writing the blog post and see how it goes. Now, for those of you who want to go off and do something else on a Saturday, the demo that you just saw me do is going to be the meat of the blog post. From here on out, it's probably going to take me 20, 30 minutes in order to write the blog post. It'll basically just be watch Brent using WordPress. So let's go back over inside here, and we'll go back over to but would you really use a reputation as a range, though? Like, would you ever say, show me the people with reputations, in between this range? Guy in a cube, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. Setting up for your weekend stream, too, I assume. Top users. I have a different top user demo that you would absolutely love. And, okay, all right. So look, I've got the demo done. I've got the demo done in the point that I can tell the story for a blog post. Let's do a different demo here because Nick's on, and I'm going to do a demo that Nick is going to absolutely love. So I'm going to say create index location on DBO users location, go. Now, I want to find the top location in the world. Go give me the top location in the world and then show me the people in that location sorted by reputation descending. Like out of all the locations out there, what's the top one? So how might I write that query? I might say with top location as select top one location from DBO users. Nick must really dislike WordPress. I don't know that Nick, well, I adore Nick's blog. Like when Nick posts a blog post, he doesn't do it very often because his blog posts are epic long, but very good when I assume he uses WordPress. Top one location from DBO users, group by, and I'm going to say I want a non-null location where location is anything other than empty string. Group by location, whoops, want it capitalized properly. Order by count star descending. Whoops, I don't want a semicolon at the end there. So then with top location, then go get me from top location, inner join DBO users, U on TL location equals U location, order by reputation descending. So what? I don't even want to know. I've tried that a couple of times. I tried it because I was going to put the first responder kit documentation inside there, and I had just a hell of a time. Top 1,000 star, and I'm just going to get the U. So this is, go find me the top 1,000 users in whatever the top location is, ordered by reputation descending. Let's see what SQL Server's execution plan looks like. So here's the plan. Now, for those of you who don't read execution plans a lot, I'm going to move this around just a little bit on the screen so that I can zoom in a little. Everything from this arrow east is the CTE. The first thing, you read plans from right to left, top to bottom. This over here on the far right is the first thing that SQL Server had to do. The first thing that SQL Server did was he said, I'm going to seek into the first non-null location, and I'm going to read out all of the locations. If I hover my mouse over here, yeah, and you won't regret that. Guy in a Cube's stuff is absolutely fantastic. So what this is it's a yelled list of locations, just hundreds of thousands of locations. Next operator, SQL Server is going to sum them up. So Alabama, Alabama, Alabama. All right, there's three Alabamas. Birmingham, Birmingham, Birmingham. Okay, there's five Birminghams. So it's going to go through and total all them up. It's going to sort ordered by count star descending. And at this moment right here, SQL Server knows what the top one location is. Then down here, he's going to go start the second part of the query. Down here, he's going to say, go find me the top 1,000 people who live in that top one location. Hey, SQL Server, how many people do you think live in the number one location in the world? SQL Server's like, 15? I think I'll find 15 people. Hey, SQL Server, how many people did you actually find? More than 15. What the? So as a result, SQL Server chooses an index seek because he thinks there's only going to be a few people, when in reality there are like 50,000. He would have been better off doing a table scan here. He's reading more pages than there are in the entire table because he's doing this key lookup 50,000 times. I wish these were three-dimensional because every single one of them is going to incur like 3 logical reads. And then there's a tsunami of data heading into this sort. This poor sort never stood a chance because he only budgeted enough memory to sort like 15 rows. So how do I fix this? How do I get SQL Server to more accurately estimate that, yo dog, after you find the top one location, how can I accurately get him to understand how many rows are going to come back? And when I do this demo for people, they're always like, well, you should put an index on location. Dude, I have one, and it's even in the plan. SQL Server used it. It used it not once, but twice. Yes, I do use Power BI, and I love Power BI. It's very cool. So here, why is he making that decision? Why is it the SQL Server is saying he only estimates 15 rows? Well, when you go take a query into SQL Server, there are two separate phases. There's the architect and there's the builder. It's kind of like you wanted to go build a custom house. If you wanted to go build a custom house, you would take your life plans over to an architect and you would say to the architect, hey, I think I want enough space to have 3 kids and a 2-car garage and a pool out back, and we love to entertain. You describe what you want to the architect. The architect comes up with a blueprint on how your life is going, or how the house is going to be built, builds the blueprint, that's the execution plan, and then you go take that execution plan and you go off to a builder, and the builder builds the custom house for you. Well, while the builder is building the house, you and your significant other play some Marvin Gaye on the stereo and you start popping out kids like crazy. You tell the builder, hey, you know what? Turns out we have 14 children now. It's too late. The builder can't do anything about that other than maybe teach you the appropriate use of contraceptives. But of course, we're way past the point where that's going to make any difference. You have way more kids than you initially expected. But that blueprint, it only had 3 bedrooms, and that's all she wrote. Mike says, well, what if there's a pandemic? I'm going to need a whole lot more space in this house. We're getting cramped up. My biological clock is ticking like this. So the problem here is that there's this real hard wall in between the architect and the builder. The architect's going to design all this out, and he's done. He walks away. So when we run this query, if I go back up and I look at the query itself, when I run this query, we're going to the architect and we're saying, here's the query I want to run. Here's how the architect reads it. Okay, so you're going to go and look in some stuff around the locations, and you're going to count up users, group them together by locations. At the end of that, you're going to find one location. I have no idea what it's going to be. So when I go to look up the number of people who live in that location, I'm just going to use the number of people who live in the average location because I don't know what to look for. And that sounds kind of idiotic, but remember, each of these phases, he has no idea what's going to happen until he actually executes them. When you're looking at an execution plan and you see SQL Server's estimates, the way I teach my students is you go from right to left, top to bottom, and you look for the place where estimates versus actuals went to hell in a handbasket when they're off by more than like 10x. So estimates versus actual, Beautiful, fantastic. This is actual number of rows of estimated number of rows. Here, French kiss, fantastic. Here, French kiss, fantastic. Or chef's kiss, really. Do chefs French kiss? How does that work? Probably not on the line. That's how pandemics start, right? Here, chef's kiss, fantastic. Here, not so fantastic. What I have to do is I have to take like an X-Acto knife. I just always imagine this is the pen is stronger than the sword. You take like an X-Acto knife and you have to cut out portions of the plan where you want SQL Server to go back and do things differently, and it's up to you to break them into separate phases. There is no way that I can get SQL Server to estimate this accurately. I can't do it. I wish that I could stick in like an option recompile here, but all that does is recompile the whole entire query, and SQL Server still doesn't know what's going to happen after this finishes. What I need is I need a way to break this off into phases. I need SQL Server to do what's up here, stop, and then go back to the architect, as in like, you and your significant other get done playing Let's Get It On, and when you're done, then go to the architect and design your custom house. So how do I do that? Let's take the query. Let's take out the option recompile just so that it isn't confusing. So here, let's take the query, go down and do it again in a separate batch, but this time I'm going to say declare top location in varchar 40 or 100. Select top one at top location equals location, and then pop this out. And then now, after I've found the top one location, then go out to the users table and say where top location equals the user's location. So now what I've done here is I've broken the query up into two phases. I've told SQL Server here, first go find the top location, then turn around and go find all of the users who live in this location. Will this give me a better plan? I'll ask y'all over in chat. You tell me if you think this is going to get a better execution plan. Will SQL Server have a good idea of the number of rows that are going to come out of here? And I'll zoom in a little so that y'all can see the query a little bit better. And then go. You tell me over in chat. Espresso. Botsko says no. Yeah, G East. Yes. Ill Will SE. Exactly. We're still taking this entire query to the architect all at once. We're still taking the entire query to the architect all at once, and because he doesn't know what that value is, he still builds a really crappy plan. Welcome to the club there, Pascal. Thank you. I appreciate it. So if I go execute this, and I look at the plan, the top phase is the one where SQL Server is doing the CTE, figuring out what the top location is. The top plan is fine. The yelling up there of SQL Server, danger, I gave you way too much memory. Let me zoom over again so that y'all can see that. SQL Server says, warning, I gave you way too much RAM. I gave you 1 megabyte worth of RAM, and you only use 16K. SQL Server, what's the absolute minimum amount of RAM that you can give me? What, 1 megabyte? Why do you ask? SQL Server, shut the hell up and go back to bed. So now down here, this is the part where I worry. So here, this is where I trusted SQL Server to make a better execution plan. Now look, y'all were doubtful. You thought he wouldn't make a better execution plan. See, this is better. Now instead of like 13, 14 rows, now he estimates 65. Technically, it's better. Kind of like my third year of chemistry was better than my second year of chemistry scores in high school. I'm joking. I only took it twice. So here, SQL Server still makes the same crappy decision. How do I get SQL Server to go back and make a better decision the second time around? I actually have to force him. I have to say, hey, go back to the architect. That's what this hint means. I said there's a real hard line in between the architect and the builder. The thing that you have to do is that we're not going to make any jump the wall jokes here. That's not appropriate. It's not funny. I can't believe you would even go in that direction. But we need to go back to the architect and go say, hey, now that the Marvin Gaye songs have been turned off, now I can tell you that we have 42 children, and now the execution plan will be different for the second half. So now, if I go run this, go take this and execute, and now I look over at the execution plan, that is actually better. I know you're taught to believe that an index seek is always good, but it turns out that when you're going to bring back like 50,000 rows, that a clustered index scan makes the most sense. And now SQL Server decides to parallelize the work across multiple operators, and now SQL Server allocates enough memory for that sort. So I love this demo in terms of, showing people how things like a CTE, this looks so simple. It looks like it should be obvious. What's our top location? How many people live in it? I take great pride in building the simplest queries possible that make SQL Server go, I think it's Miller time. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. So this is about as simple as it gets, and the only fix for this is to blow it out into a separate phase and then come back and do a recompile later. Love it. Same thing happens if you turn around and do it. It gets even worse if you start putting in things like top 10 location. So there we go. All right, so that was a demo that I wanted to show Nick. Hopefully y'all had fun with that. And holler if you've got any questions about that one. But now the sun is starting to rise, and so Nick, yay, glad you liked it. And I do that demo all the time to show stuff like locations. One of my other favorites is showing, go find the users in Reading, United Kingdom, and then go find all of their posts and comments. And SQL Server has no idea that John Skeet lives in Reading, and then it makes all kinds of cascading estimation problems along the way. It's just so much fun. Little Bobby Table says, would this be the same with cursors too? You know, I haven't written a cursor in 20 years, so I couldn't tell you. Cursors tend to be bad because they tend to be very CPU intensive. In the SQL Server world, you want to think set-based rather than cursors. If you come from an Oracle background, cursors are fine over there. They just don't perform worth a rip over on the SQL Server side. Santi says, can we use this option every time? What if this query is executed from a reporting tool? You're screwed. You're screwed. Can you believe that? There is no way you can make that work with a single query. If all you did was the option recompile hint, there's nothing you can do. It doesn't work. You have to break it up into two separate phases, run one query to get the first set of results, then use that second set with the architect. And it just drives people crazy when they're like, what do you mean I can't get SQL Server to understand how many rows are going to come back? Yeah, it's as soon as you have dependencies, and joins is exactly the same thing. Power BI just cried. Listen, Power BI can't even manage to sort by 2 columns yet, can it? How's that coming along? Sorting on 2 columns? That's the thing that drives me utterly crazy with Power BI, having to manufacture my own sorting columns. And same thing with join keys, like joining on multiple keys. I'm like, what year is this that we can only sort by 1 column? Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I adore Power BI. I use it, I was going to say every day, but it's like every other day. And love it. Baby steps. Yes, baby steps. All right, so let's stop. We'll stop here in terms of the live stream, and then I'll go off and go write that blog post and go dump those screenshots and whatnot in. Santi says, is it better to use a stored proc and just use it every time? But the problem is sniffing exists there. Here's the way that I think of writing code. The way that I think of writing code, whether it's database code, C#, whatever, when I think of writing code, think of yourself like a carpenter. There are all kinds of tools laid out across your desk, or your proudest moment on Stack. Oh my God. You have all kinds of tools laid out in front of you. There is no one tool. It's not like you can say, you know what you should do is always reach for the hammer. despite what the PowerShell folks might tell you. They might tell you that it works for absolutely. There is no one tool that works absolutely for everything. Sometimes you want to use a stored procedure. Sometimes you need to use a view. Sometimes you need to use a cursor. There are different times when you want to use different things. Marco, the UI that is very bad to do that. Marco, if you say by sorting in 2 columns, if your answer is that you go build a new synthetic column and you put both of the columns into one, you suck. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're better than that. Don't give crappy, and that's the workaround, of course, but don't you dare say that that's the right answer, because that is not sorting by 2 columns. Maple Story says, just tuned in, isn't it more important worrying about the underlying of the design of a database? If you're not analyzing stuff. Yeah, if you're not analyzing stuff with millions or billions of rows. But the thing is, even small tables have millions of rows. Like, millions of rows isn't big anymore. The demo databases I use have 100, 200 million rows. Yeah, just shift click. Yeah, right. Marco, point me to a link. I would love to see it. Point me to a link in there, because I still haven't seen that in the UI. That would be very, very cool. And it is Marco Russo, yes. I didn't know he was in Twitch, too. I kind of expected to see him over on the YouTube side. I would open Power BI, but all the Power BI stuff that I have is, only for a table, not the other visuals. But that's still better than nothing. I just don't use tables. Okay, he says, I'm serious. I'll send you. Okay, yeah, but if it's a table, that doesn't really help me. I have a whole bunch of other visuals that I use too as well, but it is baby steps. That's good. And I should say too, like, I am a huge fan of Power BI and where it's come from and where it's going. I get nervous when people say, when you see presenters or streamers or whatever say, all of you should drop what you're doing and learn technology X, because that's not usually a good idea. All of you have day jobs and you have all kinds of demands on you for those day jobs. So I don't want to say that people should always use whatever tool it is. I will tell you that Power BI has been helpful for me to visualize things for clients. I don't teach people how to use it. I'm never going to build a training class on Power BI or write blog posts about here's how you use Power BI. But I'll tell you that for me, it's done a lot of replacing of Excel. The things that I used to visualize inside of Excel, I now visualize inside of Power BI because it also just is a little easier and more elegant for me to build jaw-dropping kinds of visuals that clients get really excited about. But yeah, pick the right tool for the job there. All right, so I will stop there. Oh, Mike Shaw, good to see you in as well. Mike, I still have the Post-it note in here with your name on it. There are only 2 Post-it notes I have inside my desk, but that's still the only, I don't know that I can get that to focus quite so well, but there you go. Thanks. I'm glad you like the first responder kit with Power BI. I actually stopped teaching that because I got so many how is Babby formed questions about Power BI. People were like, I can't get it to connect to the server. I can't sort. I can't filter by specific. I'm like, look, I'm not going to be your Power BI support person. So I deprecated that inside of the first responder kit. I no longer distribute it. It's available for download if you go Google for it, but I stopped supporting it because I just had so many how is Babby formed questions about Power BI. I can't sort on 2 columns. Exactly. See, I was going to say that, and then I felt guilty. I was like, I feel guilty because both Marco Russo and Adam Saxton are both inside the stream right now. So I almost called him Adam Saxton or Andrew Saxton. All right, so I will stop there and I will go off. I'm not going to go get coffee downstairs, but I am going to actually go hit the road. I'm going to go get Helmut, my car, out and go drive him over across the Coronado Bridge and go get coffee over there just because it's kind of fun. Things that will get me fired today, yes. So thanks y'all for hanging out with me, and I will see you. I'm going to be gone. Just don't call me late for dinner. I'm going to be gone. We're heading out for vacation for the next week, and then I'm going to be back on either Friday or Saturday sometime in there. And then the week after that is going to be like all streams. I'll probably stream every day because I'm basically taking 2 weeks off. Was originally supposed to have, it's Helmut with a U, Helmut, because it's a common German name. I always name my cars, and he's a Porsche 911. Exactly, Helmut. So thanks, y'all, and I will see y'all next week. Adios, everybody. Thanks.